etc., etc., and the whatnot. I'm just gonna put my favorite maroon, my favorite Ducks Y colored shirt on, guys. Yeah. Hell yeah. We popping out of bed. We going live. What it do? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. What the fuck? Whoa, though. Whoa, slow down. Slow down, Ninja. What up? All right. What it do? Welcome to Ducks Y, everyone. Welcome to Ducks Y. We streaming. We doing the live stream thing. You guys know what it is. Bring your politics, topics, and the whatnot. Bring politics. Bring little else, I guess. I'll set up a poll question just to sort of set the tone, etc., and the whatnot. And yeah, you guys don't gotta say or do a thing. Oh man. Another day, another ideology. Welcome to the United States, folks. Welcome to the US. Another day, another ideology. Another day, another reason to believe what somebody else tells you to believe. Why are you awake, Nathan? Hey, what's going on, Lessonless Lessons? Good to see you. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't have a clue. Where are you? Let's do this. Let's just go straight to the top. Yes. No. He's bad locally too. And what is civil society and naturalism? Like that. There we go. You guys know how the polls work here already. There's only one right answer. You can think you're right, but there's really one right answer. It's the answer I say is right. I'm just kidding. No, we're big on discourse. We're big on discussion. I'm big on reading comments, but it's got to be legible, right? It's got to be legible. It's got to be in basic, approachable spoken English and the whatnot. And so, yeah, feel free to take a vote on the poll. Is Trump good for the world? And yeah, I can tell you if you got the answer right. Let me know what you think in the chat. Little bit of a challenge. And let me just throw down. Let me throw down the gauntlet too. We'll throw a little Trump Epstein in chat. We got Trump Epstein coming up in chat. We got the commie potato. Yeah, and let's go with the Mick beliefs, guys, too. Hey, what's up, Free Fire? Good to see you. So there's the gauntlet is tossed down. We've got we got the whole crew here tonight. We got Trump Epstein, we got communist potatoes, we got MAGA man, and we got Mick Belief. Yeah, a little better than YouTube emojis, but I do love the emojis that just typical text offers. We got Dwanky Wong Kenobi. Shout out to you. Even further away from May the 4th. I got nothing else to say to you. But you drop that duck emoji, you make it look so good. I guess he is definitely good for the Russian government. Yeah, Donald Trump should get banned off TikTok, right? He can get banned off TikTok and YouTube if he hasn't already for supporting Russia during their war. Yeah, who knows? Maybe the biggest sad part is that, it's not that you have to be like a really out there ideologue, talking about global shipping and talking about burning piles of trash and shipping your trash around the world. Yeah, the Mossad would probably win that fight. Mossad would definitely win that one, right? They got a long history of winning things, I believe. So the Mossad would win that one. Yeah, cool. Yeah, just tell me. Yeah, but we can have we can have opinions about natural values, right? We can have opinions about something like, well, if I see something's inefficient or wasteful, I know that's going to impact someone like me. I can have opinions about social, like, it used to be common. I could just say, yeah, I'm socially liberal. What does that mean? Well, I think the government has no business telling you what to believe, what to be like. You can be in a polycule, you can be bi, gay, straight, trans, whatever. And you can use OnlyFans, you can make OF, or yeah, whatever. You can go protest the Bible someplace. You can say, hey, I don't get the Bible out of my school. I don't want the Bible in the classroom. And so socially liberal used to mean just this sort of thing where it's like, yeah, these are my values. And same thing with natural values. I don't want to see more pollution. I don't want to see more waste. I don't want any of this bullshit. I don't want any of it. Get it the fuck out. And so what happened to that? I'm not a Christian. I used to be Catholic. I'm a former Catholic, so I know about religion. I know about Christianity, know about evangelicalism. I wouldn't call myself a scholar, but yeah, there's probably not a ton of topics you could bring up which would be new or which I am totally uninformed about. Winning against whom? Who is the Mossad won a war against? The Mossad just wins. What did I say? I said the Mossad just wins. I was kidding, by the way. I was making a joke. Imagine voting yes to the poll. Yeah, one right answer, guys. One right answer. I don't know what planet, what world you are living in. From RE, I don't know what that is. I've got no clue what that is, but cool. Thank you. Somebody, Marxist, hey, what's up? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Marxism. What's up? Shout out to you. Yeah, Communist Manifesto is a very fun read. I'm like sort of like a very softcore internet political theorist. I'm like a YouTube social media political theorist. So I've done myself some good Marx reading. My two favorite Marx articles are the Communist Manifesto. Obviously, it's enjoyable. And then the big spat. He was in a row with this philosopher guy named Feuerbach. And Feuerbach was at the time. Let's see, Feuerbach. Yeah, Ludwig Feuerbach. He was very modern. Feuerbach was talking about, well, we're at the point where we can look at cause and we can look at human knowledge and we can basically conclude things are natural, things are physical. We can conclude that these systems have causes. And Marx said, well, not so fast. He said, from my philosophical view, we have a sense-based reality, right? It's empirical. And so, yes, we can talk about material metaphysics, but we have a sensory experience. Our relationship to that is sensory. It's sensuous. And so, yeah, in my view, Marx long-term lost that fight because with modern neuroscience, it turns out Feuerbach's position is probably closer to the truth. You have to create this new category called either mind, and it doesn't really have any relationship to, in the same sense we would signify a metaphysics. You can't just say, well, our relationship or our mind about things is sensuous. So anyways, I'm Marxist, but haven't read any of his books. Cool. Yeah. I don't know what world you're living in. You think voting matters, as if these political fights are anything but kayfabe. I don't know what that means. Fake democracy. Have you ever worked with Gabe owners? Sometimes, Johnny. Yeah, Gabe owners. A couple times. I don't know why you could just ask me what you want to ask me, Johnny. Just say it. China number one. That was what Trump said once. Yeah, China can manufacture a lot of stuff. They can build a lot of stuff. Yeah, I claim to like geopolitics. But yeah, maybe I don't. I don't know. How do you pronounce Worcestershire? Worcestershire. You just gotta Worcestershire. Am I Hegelian? No. I mean, I think Hegelianism is a pretty useful lens of things, but to imagine that something made of either bits and bytes, something made of, to say that we can talk about things in terms of variables very accurately, and you can get more fine-grained about what a variable is, and what it is phenomenalism. It is also pretty much physical. It's pretty much physical. There's odd, curious, either fine-tuning or symmetry between obvious, loud physical things like chemistry, like biology. So So to imagine for Hegel to imagine something absolute that becomes, we just haven't seen that. We haven't seen that. And there's no reason in 2026, in my opinion, when we have two versions, we have the workable standard model, we have the hypothetical standard model that describes more exotic physics, and maybe one day can include gravity, or will have symmetry with a constant like gravity. And so to imagine that we are still just guessing that something became, and this is what the category is going to be like, I don't believe that. And this, this doesn't even get into the concept of, I think the Lacanian Hegel mix for the deep cut philosophers. I'll get back to chat in just a minute, but yeah, like Slavoj Zizek, he's gone really far talking about Hegel and the psychoanalytic. And so we can imagine people's interpretations and circumstance, and then this is what gives us view of the world. This is what gives us view of constructed reality, constructivism. But this is wrong, right? We should see this is wrong because, yeah, your psychology about something isn't what the thing is. So there's no inference, right? It is just you making stuff up alongside other people at the end of the day. Jesus lover, we aren't supposed to lie to people, even if they're telling us to. Wow. The simplification of labels. Yeah, why not? Why not? Instead of saying I'm a MAGA Republican and then not being able to explain anything that you actually believe, the simplification of labels can just be like, well, what natural values do you support? Do you think you have to go out and earn your food, right? Are you 5 years old? Okay, so cool. You guys know I'm a vegan. I won't tell you guys how much time I've spent out in nature. It's more than you. I can guarantee you that. So you are a MAGA Republican, and you think it's a conservative American value to hunt and earn your meal. So my question back to you is, are you 5 years old, or are you not 5 years old? What does that mean to you? To be accused of being a 5-year-old, to having developed no nuance, to having no experience. What is that like? What's that experience like? Do you understand? Have you done it? Have you done it? And so, yeah, simplification of labels often means speaking in terms of civil society. It means civilness, civic mindedness. It means thinking in terms of civic leadership instead of leading just for our own personal selfish interess. And it means respecting something as individualism, not as selfishness, but individualism as in respect for the autonomy, respect for the choices other people make, and seeing that these are operating in a messy society. So go get you some, right? Go take a big pile of the problem and take some ownership and responsibility for it. Hell yeah, furry identity, right? That's better than MAGA Republicanism. It's less embarrassing to say I'm a furry, and I obviously don't believe in shame culture. I can appreciate furryism in as much as I don't think I would ever understand it or enjoy it, because that's my personality. I'm allowed to have a personality. I'm allowed to just not enjoy or understand something. But instead, what does that mean? Where is he, Nathan? Is that a gaslighting question? But instead, there's a type of question that someone could ask, which is like, furries compared to MAGA Republicanism, one of them doesn't appear to be loudly, obnoxiously, boisterously, and immaturely trying to kick out brown people and saying the border's closed. What does that mean? None of it means anything. It's just embarrassing calling yourself a liberal, though. That's your opinion. You can ooh-woo or do like crazy razor chicken your way through an argument that you're not prepared to have. Or you can say, well, let's talk about it. You can have a conversation. So option 1 is to be an asshole. Option 2 is to talk through it. Option 3 is to go educate yourself, right? I'm someone who could actually talk about liberalism. I could talk about things like democratic peace theory. I could talk about liberalism through the lens of realism, neorealism, structuralism, multipolarity, right? And that's pretty good. I could probably talk about liberalism relative to regional security complexes. Why does it matter that you can either be an exporter or a builder in terms of military, developing these regional cartels? And so I can actually discuss liberalism. Will everything be a defense of liberalism? No, that's not what a grown adult does. So, pool rules, judge more. I don't know what that means. Money. Someone just says money in chat. I don't know what that means to just say money. Trump is too unpredictable. Nobody knows what he's going to do next. That makes him a bit dangerous. Yeah, that's a level of analysis of an individual. So in political science, we can say, well, we can look at the executive branch of the US government and look at all of the roles in the executive branch, all of the roles in a legislature, all of the roles in a judiciary, all of the roles in a military or Department of Defense. Or we can look at one individual. You could look at what Modi is going to do. You could imagine what Modi's priorities are, what he signaled to people, what he believes perhaps loosely about what he believes is possible. And this should create an inference. This should create an inference based on who someone like Donald Trump or Modi actually is and what constitutional powers they have. What's possible, what's desirable, and then what do you actually go do? We're debating World War debate. This is a communist hey, Vivicte, very quality comment. So, or emote uwu, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you want to react to the conversation, you're allowed to do that here as well. Hey man, how are you doing? Hey JWrong007, thank you for offering a polite introduction. It's nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Don't you ever sleep? Nah, bro, not really, not today. Who knows, maybe in a bit. My phone's actually got battery life in it today, so who knows? I'll stream as long as you guys are having fun tonight. How about that? Holy, what happened to truth, logic, and common sense? Does that not exist anymore? Yeah, let's ooh our way through that conversation too, Brian Hicks, or whatever your name is. Communists are all, says I don't. So you oohed, and then now you're just farting after the ooh or something. No offense. You take the road less traveled, being an a-hole. I don't know if that's to me or to someone else, but sure. So I'm an asshole for having an opinion that we're able to have conversations. You'll have to explain to me further how that works. Not that I don't recognize when I'm being rude, brash, but a lot of people don't, right? That's why we're not having a conversation right now. That's why I look like a furry. What has it got to do? I'm not split brain, right? I'm not adversarial. I have actual neurodivergence. I don't have the internet form of autism, or when people say internet retarded, I hate that word. I don't have any of those things, and yet here we are. What does it have to do with God and governments? It's not the same thing. I don't know what that's in, William, I don't know what that's in reference to, but if you don't mind clarifying or asking it a different way, I'm happy to talk about whatever it is. The philosophers have only ever interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. Yeah, a great point. I think Marxist. Yeah, most theories still can go back to either Aristotelian thinking in terms of the metaphysics and the physics of things, or they go back to Plato, which means you have ideal types. And so, by and large in the West, these two schools of thought are very popular. There's also schools of thought that, well, the metaphysical reality, what's actually real, falls outside of nature, right? Sometimes religious thoughts like Hinduism, where you have time is recursive, as one should say this, but it's recursive perhaps in a sense that you can have mystic knowledge or experience of, or there's textual knowledge of this in some sense. And then there's also Confucianism, Taoism, which looks at processes and change, and you kind of ask who's living in that apartment. Do you think the federal regulations are good or bad for business, growth, not an environment? I don't know. I don't think they truly matter that much. Businesses are crybabies, and I mean this as someone who knows about businesses. Businesses are crybabies, and so like one example is oil and gas companies. They're very strange. They're almost like these what do you call them? It's not non-rival, but there's like low elasticity in energy, within certain bounds, right? Elasticity doesn't exist in energy endlessly because your city is going to burn oil and gas and coal. And so when you say there's, this elasticity isn't infinite, it doesn't go down to the earth, but yes, oil, gasoline, different oil products are responsive to supply and demand. And not everything is responsive to supply and demand. Go look it up. Go learn your microeconomics. Go learn your microeconomics. Learn a little micro. Go learn a little macroeconomics. Figure out what this stuff does. And so to say that we in another sense, if you say it's good or bad for business, What that means is how do you compensate for either climate risk or political risk? And you can't, right? You really can't. If a market doesn't put out accurate information about what's going on in the world, it produces more inefficiencies. And so we should generally vote against these. To say that inefficiencies are what produce innovation is wrong. I think Schumpeter is one of the most correct people ever. He talked about creative destruction. No one else did. Do you come up for air? How about my channel? I've got a better idea. You came in and you've said like 5, 6 random things that have nothing to do with politics. They're basically just reacting to things. Go react on like a teenage girl's channel or something if that's what you're going to go do. Pokemon, go to the polls. It's out of our mortal hands, Nathan. I have no idea what that means. That seems to also lack context. What do you think about Putin and President Xi? I don't really have deep opinions about Vladimir Putin or President Xi. Give me one sec. Yeah, I think the biggest threat coming from China, in my point of view, is, well, first of all, there's a shared interest in China having a great understanding of how their manufacturing sector, especially sort of like low-tech manufacturing it now, is going to shape up in the coming years. Who they see having the conversation, who they see as their partners, where does like liberal development and free market development come in? And how does that contribute to their overall success and their interests? And then there's also a huge risk that 25% of China's economy is still command. And there is a huge threat in terms of the information produced in China, not in the United States, and in Russia, that, yeah, Russia still has many state-owned, right? The US maybe rents. You can accuse the US of renting security companies, and that we have a command economy around national defense and energy as well. And that's probably actually true, right? That's actually probably more true than it is false. And so I think President Putin and President Xi both have enormous amounts of challenges to solve. And just like President Trump, just like leaders around the world, that's not going to excuse competitive pressures from leaking. And it doesn't change that if this causes another state to project power in a disadvantageous way, that's going to be a hurtful force, not a helpful force. And so, yeah, I believe that there's aggregate on the whole. I believe that there's an enormous opportunity for cooperation and equal sum participation in the international system more than anything. What has this got to do with politics and God's words? It's not just the same thing. I don't know why you would bring up God's words. Nobody said anything about God's words. I'd rather be a gay communist than a Republican. Cool. Yeah, that's an identitarian statement. C.H. Hathaway, great point too. Yeah, MAGA Republicanism sucks. Regular Republicanism and conservatism, if it doesn't really exist anymore. Even Rand Paul acts like an idiot. Rand Paul never used to be an idiot. To see that you cannot actually be a Republican and be of right mind is very strange to see. I mean, people should take note. They should look at the redistricting efforts. They should say, well, look, we're just rising above the current. We are evolving as a party, and so this is where we're going. That comports and coheres to absolutely nothing in reality, right? Where are you? Where is this famous ridge line that you're on top of? I've never been there. I think it doesn't exist. I think you don't understand that either. So, yeah, I too would rather be a gay Republican right now than a MAGA Republican. And I, for my part, would be incredibly embarrassed and incredibly pissed off if I was more Republican, more than I already am. But I consider myself a progressive Democrat voter. I want to know your opinion on the Templar of Russia. I have no clue what that is. I don't give a shit about it either. Are you on? Hey, we'll see you later, Bailey. Thank you. No uwu was the second sound. His something. Oh, ha 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 ha. Yeah, Andrew Wilson will have a conversation with you. I don't want to talk to Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson isn't smart. Andrew Wilson is an online bully. Hey, thanks so much for the happy Mother's Day. I appreciate it. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Andrew Wilson is a bully. He's an online bully. I don't like Andrew Wilson. So good luck to him. He's got his 600,000 subs. He's got modern day debate, and he's got anywhere the world wants to take him. So go do another TikTok raid, Andrew Wilson. Complete douchebag. Yeah, China and Russia hated Israel for a long. What would Andrew talk to me about? What would he talk to me about? Andrew hasn't done actual research on any of the topics he debates on, so he can talk to me about his made-up ortho god. The Logos. Yeah, the Logos. Tell me about your little Sunday cult meetings. Maybe we can you can just go, so you just want to go do apologetics for however long that takes. Yeah, China and Russia have hated Israel for a long time. I have no idea what that means. And then you just start throwing gay into your statement. I don't know who Uncle Ted is. Somebody posts a casket, Curtis Knight. Cool, very cool. Gothic. Hell yeah, brother. I love Aristotle, the first ever scientist. Yeah, not really, right? Aristotle wasn't really a scientist. It'd be very difficult to understand him as doing any empirical work based on a scientific methodology. But yeah, Aristotle is, his ability to, for him, I think teleos and process was placed in his theory in a way that's really approachable and easy to understand, but it's also 2026. I think it's amazing to become like Aristotle, become like Plato, become like the great philosophers. Become like Marie Curie, become like whoever else. I don't know. I don't care. But like become like them, try to understand how they saw the world, what the world was like back then. There's a lot of value. A surprising depth to people like Aristotle as well. Cool. Kazimat or Sean Strickland, is that I don't know. Either one, I guess. I don't know. Is there beer? Am I at a pay-per-view event? I hate the Industrial Revolution. Cool. That's an opinion. Probably Adderall or allergies. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, Pepsi's the right answer. Mountain Dew. Hi. Hey, what's up? What's up? Cool. Yeah, I do have a vape, obviously. Cool. What's going on? How are you? How are you? We've got Tia Mexi Honey in chat. What's up? How are you? Nortaños. Hey, what's up? What's up, homie? Chao Peng Lee. Hey, what's up? And vitamin E poisoning too. I don't know if that's a thing. Cool. I need to get a vape again. Ended back on this. Shucks, man. Shucks. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, they'll get you. As long as you're not buying the blitz balls and the whatnot, right? That can take all types of forms. Looks like a majority dislikes Trump tonight. Yeah. Ayo. Yeah, let's take a look at the poll and see. Only 3% voted for the correct answer. So of 75 lemmings that are walking around watching chat, 75 lemmings, 45% said yes, 48% said no, and 4% said he's bad locally too. So that's a great answer. And 3% said, what is civil society and naturalism? Great question. What is civil society? What is the worldview of naturalism? Do those have to do with each other? It seems like it. Does your society or civilization recognize cause? Does it recognize a cause of things? Does your society deeply embrace understanding or discussion to understand what a cause may be like? Trump is an international clown. No, he is. Yes, he is. Trump is. Trump. Who knows how other leaders but it's difficult to say that the guy that kills kids in Iran and the guy that steals money from poor countries and tries to take over other people's territories is a likable guy. Yeah. And so, disliking Trump versus holding a political belief about either Donald Trump or holding a political belief about, what MAGA Republicanism actually produces in the world. These are different things. I think it's fine to dislike a candidate, whether that's Trump or it was Kamala Harris. It's fine to dislike someone, but have you actually assessed, in your own view, what you think the difference between the two of them is? I don't. I don't. Anyone likes Trump. If they do, they're insane. You talk too loud. Oh my God, I just got jump scared. I'm tired. Cool. Thanks for trying to fix me. What's up to you, Clippy? I don't. Anyone likes Trump. If they do, they're insane. Yeah. I wouldn't say someone's insane, but I would say that, yeah, the reasoning process is either non-existent or it's like that of a toddler. Donald Trump basically wanted people to start babbling. He wanted them to start babbling in order to talk down to them. And so that was crazy. That's a very wild event that occurred in politics. And there's a million excuses and reasons for it, but how about you start acting like an adult in the first place and say something like, well, energy security matters, but so does environmentalism, right? Energy security matters, so does the externality. Energy security matters, but so does the destruction and political competition you produce because you have energy. So these are all things that Donald Trump could have owned up to and admitted. And these are not like subjective points of view, right? You would be laughed out of the room. This is how far gone MAGA Republicanism is you would be laughed out of the room if you walked into an event at the UN and you said, yeah, energy doesn't matter, right? Energy, nationalizing energy, us having it matters, but the externalities don't matter. They're not up for discussion. Or, so what do you say? Do you say, pick your own adventure? Do you say that the externalities of being an energy rich country don't matter? Or if you pick your own adventure and you go to the other side and you say, we're just not going to talk about it. So one of them admits that there is a massive problem. There's a moral failing. One of them admits there's an environmental failing. One of them admits it's about the future and it's about the past. One of them just says that, none of that's true. And it's also our interest to do this other way. But you can't, that's brain damage, right? That's brain damage, again, because it is not a subjective view that energy causes disruption in the environment and energy causes externalities and produces geopolitical competition. It is one of the most studied topics in all of the world. It may be the most studied topic in world history. Hey, I'm sorry about that. Angry late night. Yeah, I apologize for that as well. Kamala is for chopping up kids, killing kids that weren't what? I mean, that went from 0 to 100. I'm just going to delete the message, but yeah. And say if he's a good guy or not. Isn't there people above him that makes the decision anyways? Well, the president has specific powers in the Constitution, and they're some of the most consequential. They have global impact. It's widely accepted, or has been during the hegemonic period, that the office of the president is the most powerful or influential person in the world because their decision authority. It used to be said that U.S. reach didn't have a stopping point. You could be anywhere, anytime. And some of it is bluster and posturing, and and leaders in the U.S. government would accept that is true, right? At certain times, that is true. The U.S. should look away. The U.S. should look away from things that aren't in their interest. The U.S. should look away when there's cooperation or equal sum games that are being played. And the U.S. should look away when the zero-sum competition is simply not enough to actually produce a sort of world that is not beneficial to the United States. But yeah, there's not really someone in the White House at this time that is more powerful than Donald Trump, or if you want to use the word powerful, but what does that mean to you for someone to be powerful? Be difficult to say. Angry late night. Cool. What is your ultimate goal in life? I have no idea. You asked that yesterday. Was that you that asked that? Yeah, 6 packs for summer. 6 packs for summer. Hey, thanks so much, Bing for the star. Appreciate it. You like the hat? You like the blue hat? Hell yeah, brother. What is promiscuous woman? I don't know that one. Bing bong, bing bong. Bing bong, bing bong. Well, at least the USA has always been number one. Think about getting invaded. We talked about that this morning. The US is an isolated nation state, right? The US is across the Pacific from China and Russia, and then we are across the Atlantic from Europe. And so, there's a symptom in the American culture. In Europe, they would say the zeitgeist, maybe, but yeah, it's just what you hear on the news, what your news anchors tell you to believe, and it's not supported in data. But yeah, the Federalist Papers, all the way back in the 18th century, talked about how the United States is resilient. And so you need a strong, large standing army. You still need a strong navy as a deterrence. But it's always been widely accepted that the US is secure, save geopolitical conflict happening someplace else. And so, yeah, maybe it is in the US's interest to export that conflict other places. And yeah, that is definitely something that's worth a lot of consideration. There's no small questions in actual geopolitics. Anything in gummy stuff, Free Melly. Anything gummy sours is how I'm feeling, right? I think because I'm on the internet, I like gummy sours, I like Faygo. What else do I like? Oh, shout out. Thanks so much for the gold coin. Appreciate it. 6 packs. Oh, dang. Shout out. Thank you so much. That's evil, Kevin. Thank you. I appreciate it. Huge thank you. Bro, I hate you so much. I'm so sorry. Is that to mama, daddy, little brother, big brother, something like that? I'm so sorry, right? Yeah. When your whole family in geopolitics, it's kind of like your whole family is bullies. And yeah, don't treat yourself like a child or infantilize it. Everything is a threat. Everything is sharp. Everything hurts. You can't go outside. You're always tired. You're always hungry. You're always thirsty. Nothing is right. And so everything is worth that much consideration. And so thinking about the time you've been the most uncomfortable, that's actually what geopolitics is kind of like. What does the hat say? Yeah, it says Lifetime. So Lifetime Fitness is a gym company in Arizona in the US. And yeah, I like the hat. I like the color blue, and it was at Goodwill. It was cheap. It was on sale. And so I got the hat. Even as a Republican, the worst I'd wish on you is I wish both sides of the pillow are warm. Cool. I mean, very strange statement, Kevin Price. That's not really appropriate in any world to even say that. But I guess, I don't say anything back to that then, right? So you're basically adopting a view that you're unwilling to drain the swamp of violent MAGA Republican rhetoric, right? You don't know if I'm a violent leftist, but what I do know is that you're unwilling to stand up to your own party. I'm willing to come up here and talk about my conservative values when the topics come up. I'm also very honest about what I believe about progressive politics. I'm also very honest about what I believe about global civil society, about creating a more peaceable world. And you're just telling me that you're unwilling to stand up to your own party. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you about? What does that actually tell you about Donald Trump? What does that tell you about where it's all come from? Donald Trump is the result of a junk drawer getting opened back up or something. I mean, that's not an excuse. He's a grown adult. He's on social media, so he does small things wrong. And this is purely a product of where he's come from. I hope we get invaded. I would hope we don't get invaded, definitely. I think the harshest punishment for a country like the United States is an economic correction. And Donald Trump certainly seems to be supporting an economic correction, which would benefit him politically, right? Because if there's less jobs, more people are eager to blame immigrants or something for the fact that Donald Trump's politically inept, then who knows? Maybe there are more people willing to vote low taxes. Where's Donald Trump's low taxes now? Well, you haven't even seen the best of Trump yet, baby. And so, yeah, it's very horrifying to think of how stupid the masses are. That you could actually crash an economy. And and this is basically, it's the same story. This is also what you have to be able to do in political science, or if you're an IR theorist. Those people are awesome. They really are. But yeah, in Nazi Germany, what happened? Well, in Nazi Germany, Hitler appeared to turn the economy around. But it was an economy going nowhere. Germany was not competitive in the one thing that mattered, which was energy. Germany had to have state control of their manufacturing, right? So it was the Nazi Party, the National Socialist Party, which would tell you where to manufacture and what you were building, and then they would buy it from you. And so you have this German miracle, but it is all smoke and mirrors, and it's all basically building a war machine. And so on the one hand, you would have National Socialists, deluded, delusional, and completely lacking any sense of reason, who would say, well, look how great a job Adolf Hitler is doing. When you look at old Uncle Adolf and why he's been so successful, it turns out we can point to the things. But then you ask Adolf how he's doing, and he says, well, we got to go to global war. It's not just going to be a small one, it's going to be a big one. And it is the case that for this thing that we built to keep working, because it actually in reality sucks so much, under the table, it sucks so much, we have to go invade the Nordics first, right? First, we're going to clear up some space on our borders. Then we're going to get to the Nordics, and then we're headed south, baby. We're going west and south, and we're going to expand out from there. First, we're going to send the Italians too. We're going to ask them to go to North Africa, make sure any of the refineries, any of the oil shipping lanes, those have to be ours. We don't know if we'll actually be able to do it. And then so compare this to Donald Trump's economy. See this pattern where something that's absolutely inefficient dog shit is produced and people celebrate it as a political win. Sounds like Charlie Kirk, doesn't it? Yes, it is. That is exactly Charlie Kirk's old mindset. That is what Turning Point advocated for. He said that scientists should learn about humans riding dinosaurs in school. And then he also said that, you don't need to teach your kids how to reason through things. You don't need to teach your kids to have opinions. Here's the opinion book. Start reading from the opinion book, and Turning Point is there to support you. Support this violent rapist, Donald Trump. And then look at Donald Trump's presidency. What does he produce? He's produced an enormous amount of government waste. Any actual gains or improvements that happen from Doge, if there are anything notable, right? Anything big and notable has been totally undone by an ineffective ICE organization that should in reality have decades, not years, not months, but decades of back case logs of civil rights violations. It's a waste of money. You have no idea when the organization is going to produce an actual political result in society. And MAGA Republicans, just like you celebrated Adolf Hitler, are celebrating Donald Trump as producing something that is so dog shit you have to vote for it twice. And that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad when you cannot accept causality, when you cannot think in terms of a system evolving, a place that you actually go, box A and box B are sitting there, and you push them both forward. Which one is actually in your interest? Which box do you want to get in? It's not Kamala Harris, it's just what is the future? And so Donald Trump looks and behaves a lot more like Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich than people imagine. And so shake hands. What do you think about Trump and Putin playing Call of Duty for prison reform? Yeah, I mean, why not? I don't see why either leader has a reason in terms of prison reform, Trump or Putin, to shy away from having a public conversation and shy away from putting the people in charge ultimately, right? Not penultimately, the civil society conversation, but those in charge ultimately for that, putting them in front of it, right? Have someone that has accountability, has responsibility, and that you have access to as a Democratic voter, as someone who's either been negatively or positively impacted by the prison system. So Donald Trump doesn't think that way, though. He doesn't think, what can I actually do to solve a problem? And so, and then we can also, right, Donald Trump or Putin could also be honest about it in their campaigning and say, well, when you elect people that want to reform the prison system will be discussed about being reformed. Welcome to politics. It's slow. If you don't like that it's slow, don't vote for politicians that work slowly. Vote for politicians that work quickly. Cool. Welcome to what a democracy is. Right off the bat, our naval and air force is too strong for invasion. I don't know what that means, right? I don't know what that means. Saying something is too strong for an invasion is a positive claim. So in terms of the economic thinking of what hits what, when, and where, I'm not going to go off on a tangent on that. I don't think anyone wants to talk about it. I certainly don't want right now. But I would say use economic thinking in game theory. There's no such thing as a too strong in the universe, but there is an optimal solution. So anyone can be invaded. I'm glad somebody's correcting that. More tariffs go up to, And it's very different to think about the U.S. doctrine, how U.S. conducts foreign affairs versus the game theoretic reality of the possibility of a military conflict between either two nuclearized states or two modern industrial militaries. So those are both two ways of thinking about it. More tariffs go up, the harder life will get. Maybe, maybe not, right? Why would you assume that, $160 billion that the US collected last year because of Trump's tariffs, that is a lot of money, but Donald Trump also blows this stuff out of proportion. And this is the reason it's bad is because of the deception and the fact that he may be being honest, thinking that tariffs have been a success. So $160 billion and pulling out of UN development programs kills people, right? So what this is doing is it is killing a non-zero number of people. Donald Trump is a murderer for reasons of his policy. But besides this, that number is not like cosmically significant. Having a year of collecting $150 billion doesn't solve the national debt. It doesn't solve for a deeper recession that costs way more than $160 billion. And so I would not even grant that. I would not grant that for no reason. Naturalism is a new word for me. I appreciate learning something new this evening. Cool. How the Muse found peace. Yeah, shout out to you. Mushrooms and hearts. Yeah. Have some civic leadership and civic duty and go get you some, or don't go get you some, have a nice night. Have you ever seen Red Dawn? No. Oh, wow. Cool. Yeah. Hizzle knows what he's talking about. You guys can actually talk to Hizzle. He knows more than I do. So Hizzle knows a lot, as it turns out. He's a smart person. We lost Afghanistan because of Biden. I have no idea. I don't know if that's to help someone else in chat, Free Melly. So someone says we lost Afghanistan because of Biden. That appears like it's as absolutely no basis in reality. What does a vice president have to do? What does a vice president have to do with the war in Afghanistan? Green berets as force multipliers. Yeah, we should use lasers, right? So we should, in terms of having ground small special forces units, we should have lasers and holograms that accompany troops and make it both very expensive and very costly, very recognizable to go on these missions like in Venezuela, but not also need the heavy artillery, right? So to signal the correct amount of force and use skill instead of destructive technology. And so that's the most violent idea that I have in my head is actually, can you picture if there's a hologram that doesn't move quite like a human, and so it actually triggers your mammalian brain and reptilian brain, right? Our older hardware and the hardware that we have on us right there. And it actually triggers this, and the hologram tells you that there's a threat over there and not in front of you, right? So you never lose a gunfight. And you're accompanied everywhere you go by these little holograms that distract various participants within the battlefield and non-participants. They signal what you should do, which is probably get the fuck out of there, most likely. And so, but no, I think any talk of military spending, even the sci-fi versions of this, it's not a great way to train or teach people that are in the military that eventually you're going to have to integrate to a society. And that's 100 times more consequential than just what you do there, right? I don't think we should undermine civil service, and people that have a civic mind should consider that deeply as well. It's a bad signal to say that, Donald Trump having jumped into the international arms trade in a more profound way, and still there not being clear geopolitical objectives, is very strange, and so for whatever can be said of China's aggressions and pressures within Taiwan, that's maybe one area. Hey, Hizzle, thanks so much for the big super chat. Hizzle says, have a good night, bro. Cool. I'll maybe see you around later. Thanks again for the super chat, bro. Thanks for modding. Appreciate the hard work. What do you think? And so, so a force multiplier isn't really a real thing. A force multiplier isn't a real thing. There's no efficient use of force, because if that precedes a larger conflict or problem, then there's the most efficient thing from the perspective of democratic peace theory is peace. The most efficient thing from the perspective of almost any geopolitical theory is peace. And so there's both game theoretic reasons and just philosophical reasons to say that we have natural values, to say have social values, we have political values, to say that we have these. So basically, we have technological values. We may have religious values. So we have technology and religion, and then we have social, political, and natural values. These things are inseparable, right? They're not bullshit. They're not. These things are inseparable. They're not bullshit. And so, yeah, the Green Berets, highly trained force, and I think the lore that's kind of died off is that Donald Trump wants people to feel like the military is accessible, and I don't know why that is. It's never been the case. The founding fathers in the Federalist Papers said that people should have envy and awe, right? These were the words of James Madison. He was the elder statesman compared to, at that time, Alexander Hamilton. And I believe it was James Madison who said, yeah, the relationship between the civic body and the military is envy and awe, right? And so you have 100,000 people in the US military or 1 million people in the US military, and you say, well, this guy's an asshole. He got out of the military. You got a decent job. A lot of these guys have huge problems and they've got benefits, and it's a different world they're living in. And, you know, they're not like us. And yeah, this is by design. It's a 1776 design. It's a design that's based, again, on the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean being the borders, being the actual borders, the meaningful ones of the United States. You have large bodies of water, no one can get to you. So there is no problem to invest in the people. And yeah, you would certainly hope that, just like back in the day, trade and diplomacy is what keeps the success pushing along. You would hope that's still the case. And you would hope that integrating Hobbesian and environmental values, natural values into your system would work better than buying more weapons. I'm scrolling down. I don't mean to skip you guys a bunch, but shout out. You guys can always tag me. Hizzle's right. Be good. I'm just hiding people tonight and doing 24-hour timeouts. So shout out to you guys. So if a big man beats a short man and they can't pull a gun or a knife to defend themselves, yeah, I don't know. You're talking about either the law or your own morality. So maybe there's a perspective that has to be included. Why not start with nonviolence or pacifism? If you are, let's just imagine you're someone in chat who's able to consider a position deeply like nonviolence or pacifism, and then you are still able to, you're still totally a free person, right? You're not less of a man, you're not less of a person because you've gone out and considered what nonviolence and pacifism does, right? And so when you take that perspective first, you may get a different question than talking about a big man and a short man and what you are armed with. That sounds like the type of very dumb, useless, non-practical thinking, painful almost, right? Acidic, right? It's like a bad meal. It's like a bad ceviche. I'm a vegan even, so it's like finding a rotting fish and that's your only food, right? In society, that's disgusting and it's nasty. So that's a very nasty type of thought that Donald Trump appears to want people to have. China will never take Taiwan, and I believe they will look at Ukraine, Iran, and even be more reluctant. Yeah, reluctance isn't, reluctance is actually the first step of any strong geopolitical motion. So that's why I know that statement is bullshit, right? Everybody looks reluctant and then you get fucked in the eye. And so reluctant, I think recalcitrant implies that you're backing up into some pain. And so, no, I'm not an authority on Chinese studies. I'm not an authority on geopolitics. However, I would say, well, look, this AI data center stuff looks like a bunch of bullshit from my perspective. And here's what the numbers actually are. So here's what the bullshit is and does. And then this is why I think it's also bullshit. And so, just from the perspective of you not needing to tell me more than you needed to tell me or more than I already know, and when we talk about what we already know of each other, but why wouldn't it be the case that there's a chance at diplomacy that does remove like ambiguity if it comes up or something, right? This was mentioned. This is something that's going on in the mind's eye. This seems like it's a driver of military funding, right? So why take just the big thing? Why not take the small thing? Donald Trump thinks he can back channel deals by throwing stuff around. I think it's actually a lot smaller than that. I think humans are so smart. They're so good at making inference about updating beliefs. And they're so good at having command structures around the systems of power or production that actually matter that, yeah, diplomacy can be very small and very impactful. Diplomacy can be funneled and shaped in various systems, and it can be funneled and shaped beneficially to places that are not immediately conflict prone. Right. And so, when Donald Trump says, put up your biggest assholes and let's have a stupid, ugly fight, Who knows? This Donald Trump voiced a murder wish back in the 1990s. Is Donald Trump a hippie pacifist? He never has been. He never has been. He never really cared. The reality is, if he cared, he wouldn't have run for office in the way that he did. And yeah, just very clearly, he isn't. He defended citizens getting shot in the street and the whatnot, of course. Your beard is perfect on one side. No, there's just lighting on that side. So there's nothing asymmetric that's abnormal. Hey, what's up, Bryce Taylor? Dollar Tree Destiny. Hey, very funny. Thank you. Thank you. Are you a Destiny fan? Are you you're a big politics commentator, Destiny fan, right? China will take it back. Fish is wonderful. Yeah, China will never take time. Oh, I already read that comment, I think. So the big man beats a short man. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. No one say anything intelligent. Yeah, Destiny's audience is in the chat, guys, so no one say anything intelligent about politics. Do you know who Destiny is? Don't go look him up. You don't need to. It's very stupid. G'day, mate. Hey, Mickey Floyd. I know Mickey Floyd. Chillin'. Mickey Floyd from Australia. Thank you. Appreciate your historical support, brother. And yeah, hopefully Australia is opening up like a flower today. Both the skies, I hope the floors are opening up like a flower today. I hope it's in good time too. I hope it's not disgusting. I hope it's not ugly, angry. And yeah, hopefully you're doing well and you're chilling and chilling well too. Banana ice vape. No, it's something else. Cinnamon twist. Yeah. Looking at how the Heritage Foundation mobilized the racists after they couldn't support segregation. Paul Weyrich started the modern right and they sanitized the Klan's rhetoric. Cool. I have no idea what that means. So cool. Good for you. Yeah, maybe I should. I'm a politics commentator, so I maybe should know what that means. Jesus never did politics, so nor do I. Yeah, great point. Yeah, the interpretation of Jesus as a social, a disestablishmentarian or a political, against a political contrarian or something like this, a reactionary, a revolutionary, really emerged and became very dominant around the 10th century, if I recall correctly, 10th to 12th century, especially in Central and Western Europe. And so, yeah, the book of Mark I'm an atheist, but the book of Mark is my favorite book of the Bible. As a Catholic, the book of Mark skips past a lot of the very strong introductions. The book of Mark starts saying, you need to know who John the Baptist is. The book of Mark says, you need to know this Isaiah fellow. In case your Bible was missing that copy, we're talking about Isaiah. We're talking about John the Baptist. And then it shows Jesus going around talking to hookers and basically taking the genital warts off of people, right? Cleaning their feet, etc. And doing some stuff that seems like it's complete bullshit, like I'm doing, he's teaching on the Mount. And then like I don't do, he's washing people's feet. Very impactful, Hey, you're not the Son of God at the very least. At the very least, you are humble and you put other people's needs and well-being above your own, right? You even put other people's either pleasures or needs above your own. And so you are willing to you back into being an ascetic, a full ascetic, and a cynic, right? You back into being able to reject society and stuff. And so that's the mythology of Jesus that I found compelling as a Catholic. This form of Catholicism was actually built into liberation theology, which is an ideology, right? It is not really a theology. It is a theology, but it is about politics and it's meant to be about the world. It is most consequential in a philosophical sense when it's about the world. So shout out to you guys. Yeah, I'm obviously a huge atheist. I'll go poop on the Bible another day, but as a Catholic, those were my favorite parts. Not trying to cut off that conversation, but I just thought I would bring that up as well. But yeah, if you guys like that sort of Catholic talk, the Thorpes are doing a lot more of it. Ben Thorpe seems to be coming out as someone who actually knows stuff. So yeah, Thorpe Tube's a good challenge. The only Thorpe Tube would be the only channel I would recommend that doesn't do apologetics. They're not trying to convert anyone. And yeah, very knowledgeable about Catholicism as well. Glowing review, which I never do, right? Not that it matters, but I like those guys. At least you read the Bible before making. I've read the Bible, right? Every time I read the Bible. I went to Catholic school. Hey, thanks for the thumbs up. Shout out to you. Thank you. Appreciate it. So I went to Catholic school so I took religion class. I've taken 4,000 hours of religion classes or something, whatever, not that much, but I've taken close to that. I went to mass every day when I was a kid. I was an altar server. I participated in church events. I volunteered. So I'm probably more knowledgeable about the Bible or about actually being religious than most people. Just because someone became religious on the internet and talks about religion on the internet doesn't make you more religious than someone who's an atheist and actually did religion the right way. And I would say that's the right way to actually go volunteer and read the shit, right? Read the shit, actually think about it, write an essay about it. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We got all the thumbs up dropping in chat. Hype the stream, guys. I appreciate it. I love seeing the little hype. They're not little, right? I love seeing those little hypes. Supports me, supports your other favorite streamers as well. Appreciate it. And so I have read the Bible. I appreciate how are you at least talking about the Bible. Thanks. Yeah, of course. I'm always welcome when there's respect. I love talking theology. I love talking religion. I'd love to hear other opinions when we are in that space of respect. Hey, what's up, Corrine Rodriguez? Can you sing the Mighty Ducks of America? It's just the Mighty Ducks of America. I don't know what that means. Yeah, thank you. I don't know what the Mighty Ducks of America song is. Is that from the movie The Mighty Ducks? But yeah, I wouldn't know that. Yeah. I'm not a vote. Bishop is a small Cortez. Apologies. I don't know. Apologies for what? Do you have any thoughts on Spinoza's God theory? Yeah, it's just all Spinoza, right? Spinoza's beautifully written. He's worth reading. But yeah, Spinoza as a philosopher, it's very weak philosophy. There's no way to actually and you can just kind of zoom out. This is what I've done enough philosophy to earn this right, I think, on YouTube. So I'd recommend highly going to read it. But you can zoom out from Spinoza and just say, yeah, he's saying that God is all of, there's this all of nature God. And it's also that, it's his definition of this it's still the seemingly causally closed or nomological system of nature. And this is God, right? And so it's very strange because that seems to automatically violate itself. And it does, right? If you actually put that up to scrutiny, there's not a way to justify that God is just all these logical functions and then some. What does that mean to say that God is all physical, logical functions and then some? What are you actually talking about in the substance then? It violates theories of time. It violates empirical facts in the present era, even taken at the time that it was written. Again, great theory, beautiful theory, but it's reaching because it's including theology and philosophy. Hey, thanks so much. Wow. Oh, I got an awesome $5 super chat. One of my either former Catholics or fellow Catholics, shout out to you. Any thoughts on the doctrine of purgatory? Yeah, I mean, it's sort of strange, as a former Catholic, the reality is, it's like afterlife theories are all really nasty to me. Because why would you not just if a God demands reformation or a sacrifice, why would that God not just do that during your lifetime, right? I get it that we're in the earthly kingdom, but that earthly kingdom is supposed to be superimposed on God's kingdom, right? We are in the kingdom of God. This is the kingdom of God is now, right? This is the mystic or almost undeniable reality of what's written in the Bible. And so it's your choice or something. So yeah, evangelicals hate it. I probably wouldn't agree with their take, but it just doesn't make sense to me to have a God, right? It doesn't make sense to me to have a God that creates purgatory, but highly recommend Dante's Inferno. Yeah, Dante's Inferno, the Divine Comedy, is a very good read. You can read about Paolo Maltesa, and what's her name? Not Luciana, but Paulo and something Maltesa's. So this is the OF story, the OF Fansley story. This guy married this girl. He wasn't good to her. She liked his brother, so she ended up hooking up with his brother. And then he found out and he killed them both, and they both ended up in hell, right? So they both ended up going to hell because it was wrong to cheat, right? And so that's a crazy story in the Divine Comedy that skips purgatory, and it shows some of my problem with it. Because yeah, who's actually got that? Let's just say that you in the present era, we know you have brain trauma because your husband or your wife is abusing you, most likely. But yeah, let's just say you're a woman. Let's pretend you're a woman. Your husband is abusing you. You have brain damage from this. And then it just so happens da 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 da, 4 years goes by and you cheat on him with a coworker or something, So you're being abused. You have all this trauma, all this brain damage, da 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 da, and you cheat. So obviously there's something that can be said of whether or not it's moral, whether there's moral agency in that action, and philosophers could analyze it. But why it seems very strange that that has a supernatural or theological consideration to me. To me, it seems like, wow, what a crazy world we live in, right? What a crazy world. It's not that this guy's even getting what he is coming from him, but yeah, you guys have really evolved together. Look at where your stories brought you, And so, yeah, to me, that's why purgatory kind of falls flat as a former Catholic. Yeah. What do you think about alcohol? Have you had a problem with drinking in your life? Reed Henderson. Yeah, alcohol is dangerous. I drank too much when I'm at work, when I was at work back in the day. And yeah, I would want to get off work and have a 6-pack or something. Or, whatever it looks, feels, sounds like, it's 4 p.m. and it's not too early to crack a beer with an hour left. And so, yeah, I don't have an opinion because a lot of people are safe drinkers. I don't believe the government should regulate alcohol. I think it's a much different conversation to talk about the health impacts and social health versus someone having a drinking problem. And so we know alcoholism is comorbid with certain genes, having certain genes, right? Not other diseases, right? So I know I'm saying that wrong, but yeah, alcoholism can be said to be a disease process. And there's also just like deep physical dependencies, which maybe express themselves differently. So there's maybe different styles of alcoholism. And so I'm not really for or against talking about alcohol or drinking problems or something like that. But I'm also not an expert on it. But yeah, I quit working a few years back. I became vegan, and that also came with giving up alcohol. So I don't drink at all anymore. But yeah, some people have a hell of a time with that. So shout out to everyone. Thank you for being Catholic. I was Catholic. Peace be upon you, my brother, right? We know right here, Jesus loves you. Oh, cool. Appreciate it. I'm currently reading it. Hereby challenge you to the lateral raise a pair of 40-pound dumbbells like this. 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Yeah, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be there right now. I could get back up there, but I'd have no reason to do so. I don't know why I would, without, that would, as far as I'm concerned or knowing of, that would require my diet to change significantly. It's just very strange to think of the balance it takes to lift 40 pounds with your shoulders and then have a body that also lifts 40 pounds with your shoulders. So in my view, the harmony or the balance or what it would be like to train to get up there, I could do it though. Yeah, I used to be able, I don't know that I did 40 pounds, but I very knowingly remember doing 35 pounds for as many sets and as many reps as I was supposed to be doing. So yeah, I used to lift weights. I just don't think it's worth it anymore. As a 36-year-old, Donald Trump got endorsed by David Duke from the Klan. Donald Trump backed into a lot of the crazy stuff that emerged from the Tea Party. And so again, failures of the partisan two-party system to represent rural interests and to wrap around niche issues and maybe values too. Hey, who knows? Maybe natural values, maybe environmentalism would have sounded pretty nice to some folks coming from both sides saying, hey, here's what's actually making things worse. And the fact that there's not a cheap solution to your biggest problem doesn't mean that we should be tacking on all these other pressures and stress in your life. And so welcome to being an adult. Welcome to being an adult. You don't get to make $45,000 a year if you live in the same county I was born in Ohio. In fact, you make about $19,000 a year if you were born where I was born in Ohio. So you don't get a $45,000 a year job, but what you do get is you get to hear two parties talking about the issues that actually matter. What is 40 pounds in kilograms? What is it about 17 point something? I don't know about that. Yeah, it's 2.2. So 2.2 pounds. So that would be, so a little more like 17.5, 17.6 kilos or something. I don't know. I'm not good. Hey, Austin Murphy, what up? Hi to you. Appreciate the insights. Like 17. Yeah, somebody's saying 17 kgs. They did the math, folks. I'm skipping down a little bit. You guys can always tag me at DuxY if there's a specific comment you want me to respond to. I was getting help. I was like $5,000. It was like $5,000. I'm also 36 years old. I'm tired of getting help. It was like, drinking alcohol is expensive for sure. Drinking alcohol is expensive for sure. Any type of consumption habit, right? Consumption habits are expensive. And yeah, it's kind of a bummer. You know, some people either arrive there or get stuck there, or it's helpful. But yeah, it's difficult for me. Veganism was a value-based decision. So I went vegan because I remembered that it used to be gross to think about eating animal flesh. And I remembered that I still have that gearing, right? I still had that idea that, and same with alcohol. I didn't like waking up feeling a little bit tired. I remembered my life didn't used to be like that. I used to wake up at 6 a.m., have a cup of coffee, maybe do a little homework, and then go to the gym or run. And so, so, you know, I wish I had more I could say and stuff like that, but having a big far and away value or something for some people might actually be more fundamental, because you can both pull yourself up as well as pull yourself down and kind of stay there with it. You know, and yeah, you know, some of those things too, when people say it's money or people say it's stress, it's like, well, then that's leaving it up to you to make something. You know, if you make something of it and it's good, awesome. If it helps you get to the next lily pad to lily pad, good. But if they say it's money, it's stress, and it's not actually your values, it's not actually your personality, it's not actually not even what you want to achieve or accomplish, like these overwhelming things. It's just like, how are you going to spend your time tomorrow? Why not sort of, and again, I'm not trying to give advice. I'm obviously not a professional or anything, but to me, it makes sense that let people find something based on something true and big and foundational. It always sounds disappointing because guess what? It is, right? I didn't get a prize for stopping drinking, for not eating animal products anymore. I didn't get a prize because I started reading philosophy again. There is no prize. There's no Pulitzer Prize for the bullshit. So, what's your thoughts on Israel? I don't have any thoughts on Israel currently. Israel seems to be moving in the wrong direction for building more secure regional policies that are inclusive of North Africa, the Balkans, maybe Turkey, and the Middle East. And as the superpower of the region, Israel should be a major player in that. And so who knows, saying that, you know, there's too many disagreeable facets seems to be what they're voicing. And it doesn't seem to be more than that. You know, what have people gotten back from putting pressure on Benji? What have people gotten back for either decrying or loving Hamas or Hezbollah? You've gotten nothing back from it. So what's the actual reality? The actual reality is, yeah, you guys are a bunch of pussies, right? The reality is Israel and everyone else in the Middle East, just like the United States, you guys are a bunch of pussies. Everything's sharp, everything hurts, but everything is measurable. So you guys can't show up to the fucking operating table with a spreadsheet and actually do your fucking jobs, right? You're not able to do that. And so that's what it looks like to me. But yeah, I used to be strong, but I've done my shoulder. I done my shoulder in showing off. Cool. Yeah. Early 20s, you can get away with drinking a lot. Not after 30. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When you get old, everything hurts. Caffeine is more expensive to use. Alcohol is more expensive to use. And it sucks. You know, my personality, I used to go trail running 4 times a week. I would go to the gym like almost every day. I worked at a restaurant. I also went to school full time while I was doing this. And so, you know, my personality of go made it very easy to think, well, instead of doing that, you know, now that I'm older, now that those things are less convenient, it was easy to have a beer. I like beer too, right? I worked at a brewery in college, didn't drink too much in college. I like barely drank in college too, you know, but I worked at a brewery in college. So I drank a bunch of craft beer, you know. After I turned like 21, 22, I would, you know, bring home a 6-pack or a growler some nights or whatever, but not every night, right? Not every night, you know, maybe once a week, right? So it wasn't like, but yeah, that stuff's always important to kind of look out for the changes or something if you're still talking about drinking and it's really unhealthy. Oh, vegetarian? Yeah, cool. Vegetarian's another great diet, right? It cuts out, vegetarian does not include animal meat, right? So some vegetarians, most eat eggs, but vegetarians, for the most part, have no animal meat. And and a lot of vegetarians also don't mind using some animal products, or sometimes they'll use vegan products as well. Sometimes, whatever, you know. And so, Yeah, it's cool. It's just, whatever it is that your body needs and how your body eats is great. I was vegetarian in high school. I've been a pesco vegetarian in college, and now I'm a vegan. I like the diet, and it is. Hey, shout out to you, India. Shout out Sachin. Hey, I just wanted to stop by and say hi because I'm done with life, bro. Yeah, hey, I can't help. I just want to offer you that if you haven't been told it, I love you. A lot of people love you. And yeah, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's basically, what I would say to that is that, yeah, if you want to hang out here, we're a politics, philosophy, sort of wellness, political science channel. And so I stream every day. And if you want to come hang out here, feel free to do that too. Yeah. Feel free to come hang out here. Macri, they probably do love you, bro. Yeah. Heck yeah. Do I like bagels? Bagels are really good. Bagels are really shitty, easy, cheap, fast food, right? Whole Foods is like the top of the mountain. Dummy Whole Foods is the top of the mountain. Dummy Whole Food is top of the mountain because it's slower to digest, easier to kind of keep on the path that you were on before. And yeah, it's very weird when you feel like you're starting over every day. That's kind of a tough thing. People who've lived in poverty before know that's not what it has to be like. If you've ever eaten beans, lentils, things like this, and then switched your diet, yeah, it feels good. It's very pleasurable. For some people it's uncomfortable, or you just have to adapt into eating like a more rich diet. But yeah, if you've ever lived in actual poverty and you have the receipts, right, you can actually show what it looks like or what it is. I'm obviously a big fucking guy right now, so not that big, but I weigh like 160, 170 pounds. So I'm pretty much massive, right? I'm a massive guy. I weigh 160, 170 right now. I really want to get back down. But yeah, people that have lived in poverty should love bagels. Bagels are delicious. They're easy, fast food. And yeah, I want to know the mic brand behind you. Yeah, that's a Shure. I use very good audio equipment. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I use, if anyone's curious, I use a Samsung A14. Reason being is the Samsung A14 has 4K front camera. It's got HD camera. It also has, it's the last version of the Samsung phone that has a USB-C cable. So I can actually plug in the microphone. So that's why I picked the device. It was like $100. It's great for streaming. I think I paid $120 for the phone. And then the microphone was also about $100, but the MV6 is the streaming version from Shure. It has audio processing, noise cancellation built in, and it's very heavy, right? So I'll just mention this. I don't want to get too derailed, but yeah, if you guys like AV stuff, I had a different mic at first. It was very light, and I accidentally dropped it once, and it actually broke the condenser, right? It broke the actual audio tube. And so good audio equipment for streaming is very fragile. Actually, as a matter of fact, even this microphone is very fragile, right? It's meant to be stood on a desktop. It's not meant to be moved. It's very heavy, very high quality. It was $100, and it's not meant to be moved. It's not meant to be shaken. It's meant to be like if you want to use it as part of your stream setup or something, it would look like this, right? It would look something like this, so you can see the brand. And that's basically, it gets in the way of you guys, but there's the microphone, guys, right here. Let's do this. So yeah, and so if you guys were ever curious, I ended up with this mic because I broke the first one because I'm clumsy, and I just got this one. So there you guys go. There's my microphone story. Very lucky. Very lucky. I can plug it into my Chromebook and it works as well too. I do eat a lot of eggs and peanut butter and beans for protein. Picture meat loaded with parasite eggs, worms, and it will be easy to give it up. Cool. Yeah, awesome. Awesome, everyone. For those that know, if there's anyone in chat that gets what I'm talking about, yeah, shout out to the real ones. $8, baby. $8. What up? How you guys doing? My name is Nathan Online. I go by DucksY. Shout out to you guys. The channel is DucksY. Like I said, I am Duck. We talk about politics, philosophy, political science, and yes, I am an essayist. If you want to, you can check out my Substack. It's located on the main channel. Other than that, yeah, let's have fun. Chat, thank you to you guys. If you want to hype this stream, like button's free, subscription's free. You guys can also support your favorite streamers using the YouTube gifts and the whatnot. And yeah, other than that, let's go, baby. My stepmom roomed veganism for me with fake meat. That looks like it just grosses me out. Fake meat was really good, right? It's very high quality now. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend. That's one of my street beef with vegans. With vegans is it is way. So it is more. Okay, so if you want to know the math of it, it is more sustainable, produces less suffering, and if you think about in terms of saving one animal life, whether it's a cricket or a cow or a chicken, then yeah, absolutely buy Beyond Beef. It is a no-brainer. It is so much different. It is so much better. Buy fake meat, right? Buy meat substitute products. There's no comparison. But in other terms, yeah, I would, right? I'm not like part of the team, right? So if I'm talking about my own veganism, it's like, yeah, if you can take a year and you can substitute everything out for whole foods, you're going to be so much healthier. Baked potatoes, so much healthier. Skipping meals or being able to go with IMF fasting for a day, going to go water fasting, that kind of stuff, so much healthier. Feel so much better, right? Our bodies need that. It's a different experience. And no, I stopped taking pre-workout about 4 or 5 years, like 3 years ago. I stopped taking pre-workout like 3 years ago. I'll get an energy drink. I'll just get like a Ghost energy drink like once every couple months now. This is a pretty cool stream. Hey, cool. Shout out. Hope you're having fun. Same, enjoying the stream too. Cool. Yeah. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for being here. I look like a dad. Yeah, I'm 36 years old. 36 years old. Yeah. 36 going on 90. Unk in the house, right? Unk in the house. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Let's see. Do I have a... Whoops. There we go. We got a little lighting going on and everything. Let's see. Can we retouch? Are there any cool retouches? Hey, look. I look like a Care Bear now. I look like a Care Bear. I look like a Care Bear. Cool. Sick. S the D Google. Whoops. S the D Google. Blammo, blammo, blammo. Yeah. Cool. Hey, there's some shit. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, being able to move around, use it, whatever. If you're trolling MAGA with those emojis, I might just sub just to use though. LOL. Yeah, if you guys want to buy memberships or gift memberships, both are helpful. I love you guys signing on for a membership. That usually means you guys are looking to support me for about 3 months for either $4.99 a month or $14.99 a month. What you're actually paying for, what you're actually buying is, last month we had 40,000+ conversations. Not conversations, but we did actually have like close to 20,000 total chat messages and over 40,000 views in the algorithm. So whatever the numbers are, I can get them and post them later, but I'll post those types of statistics on my channel. But yeah, you're posting me to talk about political science, do a little research, talk about current present day political issues. And so yeah, if all my prices and all my bills are in USD. So for $4.99, you can become a member, and for $14.99, you become a super member. You get the Duck migration badge for $14.99, and you become a Ayo. You're a member of the Duck Pond for $4.99. You can also gift those memberships, and yeah, that's a huge support that I count on every month. And so thank you guys. Did I do sports? I wrestled. Yeah, Reed, I wrestled back in the day. So I was an athlete back in the day. Yeah, I used to have a nice long, big athlete neck. I didn't look sunk back like this. Yeah, before the internet came around. Yeah. No, I wrestled. It was a lot of fun, and yeah. Yep. Yeah. Let's check on the poll, guys. So far, guys, you should all be very sad. 88% of the 182 points. Hey, what's up to you, Iran Arthur Morgan? Shout out to you. So of 182 votes, 88% have failed. They said, when I asked, is Trump good for the world? You said either yes or no. Only 8% has said he's bad locally too. So you're thinking about your political opinion pertaining to your own life and your connections, your outlays to the global tech community and the whatnot. And then only 4% of you said, what is civil society and naturalism, which was the correct answer. The correct answer is, could I learn more to understand whether or not Donald Trump is good for the world? And why that answer is no. Why that answer is definitively no for so many reasons that you can choose to take on or ignore. I look like I punch turtles. I'm a vegan. That's deeply offensive to me, actually, right? That's deeply offensive to me to say that I punch trolls. How do I get this poll down? There you go. I saved a turtle once. So if you guys want to know, I'm an animal hero. I saved a turtle once, pulled it out of he'd crawled out of the waterways in Arizona. And I got his ass, out of it there. He'd gotten himself in some trouble. So I went, I saw a crawl down there, got him out. He did this really huge shake. Water animals, guys, don't exploit nature, right? You're a human, you're not an animal. If you don't love animals, then why would you learn about them for your own benefit or something? But turtles and sea creatures are badass. They are so strong. If you just think about how much strength and skill it takes to evolve when you're always in resistance, turtles, fish, they have an incredible amount of strength in their bodies. Really beautiful animals. Turtles and fish are two beautiful animals. And so, yeah, I get super sad thinking about humans affecting waterways unnecessarily and in ways that we don't even think about the impact on the ecology. Because that does kill, right? That does kill turtles. So why wouldn't we think about municipals and locals building sustainability commissions or environmental impact commissions? Why wouldn't you have necessary stops or votes for how budgets are actually dispersed in construction projects, which talk about sustainability, which vendors you use, what sort of demands you place on a project before funding it? You might say this is too slow, but holy hell, I'm looking at the United States and it looks like places like Oklahoma, who have these MAGA Republicans backing them in Oklahoma, they're the ones that are behind on funding and investing in infrastructure, staying up on things. I don't see this problem. I don't see this problem because of sustainability, because of environmentalism. How would it be? We've got plenty of test cases where the know nothing, do nothing MAGA Republicans, as well as inept Democrats that you voted for that year for whatever reason, don't actually care about pushing values down into the political process. They don't care that they can actually represent your values, whether they be civic, social, political, environmental, and natural, or related to something like NatSec. So you can take all of those topics and you can make them more or less than what you want them to be. But to me, it's absolutely insane and absurd that we don't support those types of things. Hey, Jack Russell, puppy dog. I saved my dog from drinking himself to death. Very strange comment. I don't understand that one bit. I have no clue what that means. My turtle got into radiation and turned into a ninja turtle. Cool. Yeah, turtles are awesome. Same exact story back to that. I saved a turtle once. I saved a family of baby ducks once too. This girl I used to date, she saved a baby bird. Yeah, she called me up and said, "Look, I found this bird on the ground and I found an animal rescue. We got to go drop it off." So I said, "Okay." I don't know that I said okay right away, but yeah, then we went and dropped this bird off and hopefully saved the bird's life. My dad stopped breathing, so I threw him back in the ocean. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's a level of absurdity I don't totally understand either. I don't get it. Can I be your hero, baby? Da, da, da. Is that Enrique Iglesias? Can I be a hero, baby? I don't think it is. Outside, inside out, living la vida loca. She will burn you down. She likes the Costa Roca. Living la vida loca. Outside, inside out, living la vida loca. She will turn you down. Shakira actually hosted, I think, a free concert in Brazil. Was it Sao Paulo or Brasilia in Brazil? She hosted one of her largest shows ever. I think it was, let's see if we can find this in the news. Shakira news for anyone into music. If you guys know Shakira, we're looking up some Shakira news. And while I'm doing this, welcome to the stream. Good to see. Thank you, everyone who's been here. If you guys want to introduce a politics, philosophy topic, we're just hanging out. I'm not in a rush. You guys aren't in a rush. I'm not in a rush either. Concert. Free Brazil. 2 million people. 2 million people went to a Shakira concert. I'm not fucking with you. 2 million people went to a free concert of Shakira. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Shaka. Do you know why I got fired from the tech industry? Because I used to say things like that. I'm not fucking with you. Hey, turns out I have a higher IQ than you and I say profanity. You just live in it. But whatever, go fuck yourself, bitch. What's up, bitch? Where was that at? Brasilia, Brazil's Copacabana Beach. Yeah. Shakira draws an astonishing amount of people to her free concert in Brazil. That is an astonishing amount of people. This was 2 days ago. 2 million people. Crazy. It's a free concert. How do you even get 2 million people together to know something? That's crazy. But yeah, this is also nuts though, because you guys know Brazil is part of BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, right? So this is the alternative geopolitical funding mechanism to the world's problems and the whatnot, etc. And there's actually, what is it? There's like, I should know the number off the top of my head, but there's like 13 countries in BRICS. How many mofos? How many countries are in BRICS? There's like 13 countries in BRICS. 11 full member countries. 11. So there's 11 member countries in BRICS. Oh, Saudi Arabia. Oops. Oopsie fucksies. Yeah, Saudi Arabia, UAE. So UAE recently pulled out of OPEC too. But yeah, what was it? Where was I going with this? Yeah, we forget that in the West and in other places, like Latin America still has high levels of poverty. There's delayed developmental areas in Latin America. Very crazy. And so it's wild to think that someone like Donald Trump blames countries like Chile, blames countries like Argentina, blames Guatemala, blames Ecuador. He blames places that he knows nothing about. He's never studied their history. He's probably done nothing more than surface level overviews of, you know, the sort of manila folder that his advisors have. And so why wouldn't you think that's pretty? You are a bum. Hey, you a bum. Any questions? Cool. Duck. Hey, what's up, J Clips? Great message. Sure. Obviously being wiped out. Do you want me to ban you? See ya. Obviously being whipped out. Yeah. Yeah, those stories are do you want to talk about something? Yeah, those stories of like global poverty are they're tough to get into sometimes, right? But yeah, I mean, not every story is like that, like heartbreaking. You know, it is heartbreaking to learn that people that want to send their kids to, let's just say, all 12 years of primary and secondary school don't always have that chance, right? That is pretty sad because we all have prefrontal cortex, we all have brains and the whatnot. But yeah, those stories of global poverty are tough to get into. And so would you rather Kamala cheat her way into president? What are you talking about? Her way into presidency? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, political strategy. Donald Trump said this is what like Democrats and Republicans do. It isn't, right? You have political strategists, but the Republican and Democratic Party either propose policy and pass policy, or they administer the policy they've passed. So you don't understand what government is. You only had to, well, your one option, you actually had one option, which was to post inaccurate information, right? And so I would educate yourself. It doesn't sound like you know what a government is. I don't know why you're on a politics stream then, right? Yeah. Again, I'll say that one more time, right? The Republican and Democrat, our two-party system in the US, whether you're part of the legislature or the executive in any country, you debate and negotiate policy, you pass policy, you draft policy, and you're meant to represent all of your constituents, not just the people that voted for you. Okay, so it's not just, okay, cool, sick. You still don't, okay, so yeah. So you're supposed to represent all of the constituents, you're supposed to represent all the constituents, not just the people that vote for you, right? Bernie Sanders has probably won Vermont just based on this principle, right? Based on that, he's won his district. He represents all of his constituents, not just the people that voted for him. And then, yeah, so that's your actual job as the politician. Kamala did not organize or manage her own campaign. She probably had input into how it was going to be run based on her seemings of the political climate. And yeah, and so if you want to be critical of Kamala Harris, I think you would have to start over because the mess that you presented, I don't think is addressable in my view. Local government should be people's first. Local government should be people's first priority rather than them blindly voting one way. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, local government matters enormously. People that spend time in their own communities can easily see things they like and see things that bother them. I like parks projects. I like seeing when there are more wild, when there's like almost like preserved areas in my own city. These are my preferences, and I also have reasons to believe why these are deeply political beliefs that I hold, and they're more than enough to vote on. But yeah, these are local issues, right? To imagine that there's some priority coming in because people think that, oh well, Duck lives in Arizona. Arizona recruited Deloitte to come out there, right? You have the big three consulting firms out here. I don't care about that. I truly don't care about that. I don't know what that has to do with anything, Milspec. Hey, cranky mullet. I believe Trump was for us. Outside, inside, out. If you want to come back, subscribe to come talk about politics and whatnot. I believe Trump was for the U.S. at first, but he got silenced by the people pulling the strings. I don't know what that means. Donald Trump was provide evidence that Donald Trump, in any point in his life, cared about the common good. Provide evidence that Trump cared about the common good, or that Donald Trump cared about. That's also a YouTube channel. The Common Good is a good YouTube channel if you guys like politics. But anyways, yeah. When was this mysterious time period? Donald Trump was a real estate investor, right? I'm not saying Donald Trump was a bad person because he invested in real estate, but he shipped risk off through marketing. He shipped risk off by making a Trump brand. So he didn't look like he was building just another hotel, but he was always just building just another hotel. So to me, that's something that a greedy, selfish person would do. It's someone who does not have a proper understanding of their own self-interest as being both viewed as well as contributing to commons problems. That seems like someone who's just selfish and is a poor thinker, right? It seems like someone who never grew up. So Donald Trump to me seems childish, not that he was for us, whatever for us means. And he got silenced by the people pulling the strings. And so that's a conspiracy. So I don't know if I'm just responding to a conspiracy theory, or you're alluding to systems or other influential roles in a society. Yeah, like who knows? Energy companies use lobbyists to impact votes in Washington. Cool. That makes sense. That's what you're supposed to do, as it turns out. That's not a conspiracy. That's just, yeah, what you're supposed to introduce information and influence public opinion in order to, ideally, you would be guiding the process towards more equitable and politically apt outcomes, whatever that means to you. But yeah, when factions were spoken about in the United States, when we talked about different, not just money, not just military, but different interests arguing about what the world should be like, factionalism, should be a positive force still, I think. Yeah. You are an anti-national talking against Trump. Yeah. Hey, Manu John's got it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't support nationalism. Nationalism, I think it's of no idea. It's of no idea. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not going to worship Trump. Hey, thanks, Travis. Appreciate the kind words. I love you too. Yeah, I do love you guys, right? I try to be a loving person. I don't know what that means actually, but yeah, if I can't tell, I can't personally, kind of shake everyone's hands. I would honestly tell all you guys I love you, right? I would hope that you guys have the same shot at being happy in whatever world you're living in, just like anyone else. And yeah, that's not wishing all you guys make $1 million. It's not asking you guys to send me $499 red super chats. It's not asking you guys to gift 50 memberships. It's truthfully just saying, yeah, we don't tell each other enough that in the social sense, I love you. In the animal naturalistic sense, I love you. I know that sounds so gross to some people, but like, yeah, why not? What do we want? A world worth fighting for. What do we want? A girl worth fighting for. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Not everyone is here every day. How is he supposed to know? Anti-Trump is anti-American. I don't believe it. You need to be imprisoned. I don't believe it. You are against America. No, you complimented me. You got it right. Yeah, I'm anti-nationalism. Do you know what that means to be anti-nat? I thought you were, I don't know if you're being tongue-in-cheek, but I thought you were complimenting my views at first. Yeah, anti-nationalism is basically pro-uninformed. It's basically saying that any of the end results and how we got there, how it was decided, we can produce a pile of shit, but it's our pile of shit. So we're just going to vote on it. I talked about this earlier. Maybe you'd like this analogy. Yeah, Hitler and the Third Reich built something so gaudy and obnoxious that was called the German miracle, but it was so gaudy and obnoxious that the Germans at that point had no chance to compete for further energy rights. So Germany was an uncompetitive state, and they also had needs that would extend to geopolitical conflict. And they had needs that revolved around a command economy, right? The fact that the Third Reich and the Nazi Party, the National Socialist Party, was not based on a free market. It was telling things where to go, when to go there. So you had a political system which could not fix itself and a political system which had to go to war. But what did Nazis say when they saw this? Well, Nazis said a lot like what Trump MAGA Republicans said is, well, this isn't a piece of shit. While everyone else says, you guys sure made a piece of shit, Nazis sure said, and Nazis and MAGA Republicans say, no, it's not a piece of shit. It's good. Watch, we'll go to war. So what did, old Unky Hitler? Unky Hitler went and invaded the Nordics. I'm going through the same thing again. Sorry to repeat it, guys. Unky Hitler said, yeah, let's clear up space around our borders. Cool, you got that down. You didn't solve your energy problem. So then he said, let's go to the Nordics. That'll solve our energy problem. So Uncle Hitler next went to the Nordics. And then what happened after that? Well, after that, he got hit repeatedly. So a lot of people said, well, turns out the thing you built was a piece of shit. Turns out fixing your border problem didn't fix it. Turns out getting, you have oil or supply lines, whatever it was, but turns out that didn't fix it. And so what you do have now is a piece of shit with extensions, right? You have a piece of shit with out of control hair. You have a piece of shit with pubic hair. And Uncle Hitler got hit a bunch for it. So why is this like MAGA Republicanism? Manu John, why is this like MAGA Republicanism? Because Donald Trump has wasted billions of taxpayers' dollars and clogged up the court system with ICE. He's stolen money. He's broken relationships the United States has. Basically everything. And he said that the United States is going to be an arms dealer for customers in what country? In what country will you be buying the S-400 weapon system and the S-100 weapon system? Who wants that? Who needs it? And so we're living in a world now. We're living in a world where you have these political motions and the thing is fundamentally flawed, but because it's your fundamentally flawed version, it sucks, right? I don't think anyone is following. Yeah, that's correct, because there's no semblance of, there's no explanation as to when you look at the economic and political drivers of what Trump wants America to be, there's no reason or logic it should work. The room it came from and where it's going to is suboptimal, right? In your words, saying nobody's following, I would say, well, there's a suboptimal system being produced and there's no magic, right? This isn't Harry Potter. This is not like a Dostoevsky novel that you need to read. You can just look at the world and say, this is suboptimal. It's less good. Hey, thanks, Cowboy Baby Rhodes. We broke God's laws, but Jesus Christ paid our fine. Hey, Michael Knight. Wow. Very great retelling of some of the shit the Bible says, I guess. Trump ain't so enough said. Cool. Hey, Manu John. Okay, good. This guy's based. Hell yeah, I am based. What up, internet consumer? Trump is destroying America. Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Chicken duck. Yeah, you guys, we got to analyze Trump as a neoconservative or the whatnot, right? The guy's not a friendly feller. Man, I'm on my soapbox up here. Guys, we are on YouTube mobile. I know I'm probably not doing it right. I'm not asking to be fixed. But I am apologizing if you guys get sick of some of the repetition. You can always introduce a new comment, say what's up in chat. I always appreciate that kind of stuff. And yeah, why not be honest about what Trump's actually saying and doing? And yeah, all that other kind of stuff, guys. all that other kind of stuff. What do we want? A girl worth fighting for. And I've been standing by the edge of the water long as I can remember, never really knowing why. And I wish I could be a perfect daughter long as I can remember, never knowing why. I could lead with pride, I'd be satisfied if I played this song. Da 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 da. What is wrong with me? Yeah, that's the other part of it too. You know, you can ask why a suboptimal strategy is selected for, and I would appreciate there's plenty of problems in a civilization and a society. And so sometimes you may see from one level of analysis a suboptimal solution being selected. However, that's also just like what inept or incompetent people say all the time, clanging pots and pans, talking through what's actually happening. And again, wishing your audience was dumber, wishing your audience is stupider than you, wishing your audience is more dumb than you are. Nobody actually wishes that, right? My point is that, I guess just like everything else in my life, you guys can leave me. You guys can graduate Dux Y, Degen, sex addict, gooner, school of politics and geopolitics or something. And then you guys won't need me to talk about anything anymore. Weird that all the bad guys for thousands of years use all the same symbols, or am I just insane? No idea. Symbology and the whatnot. Who knows? Who knows what that world was, what that world was like. You got to go get them chickens, boy. Go get them chickens, boy. Blood. Go get them chickens, blood. I'll share this example real quick. Again, if you guys have heard it, I apologize. I feel self-conscious, but in Egypt, in Alexandria, the symbolism they actually went with was that Greek was used as a legal or bureaucratic language. So in Egypt, Greek was used, and then they used this other family of African and Egyptian languages for things people were meant to actually read. And so you did have this Mediterranean symbol system used for different purposes. I don't know, good guys, bad guys. It was just that the people in government, at that time, Alexandria had somewhere north of 500,000 people living there. Ancient cities, old cities in the early BC into AD period, when you're thinking about agriculture and these sort of, having either city states or centers to empire or regional control starting to become more clear. You did have these very large cities. You had populations that ate just like us today. You had populations in the Roman period that were even poorer and ate similar to how we eat today. And so when you just think of the energy coming into and leaving a society, agriculture was a huge boon. It's very important to actually understand how people work. Do starving people write about democracy? Who knows? Maybe they do, right? The Greeks did, but they weren't starving. So Trump needs to go away now. Hey, bro, I got to... I'm gonna have to give you a little time out there for that, buddy. I'm sorry. I appreciate your support, but we're not going to endorse political violence on the stream. I'm sorry. I don't agree with Trump on everything, but I'd vote for him again. I don't know how that goes with an opinion on political violence. Weird that all the bad guys for thousands of years. No echoing political violence. Again, this is a layer of what do you call it? What do you call this, right? We talk about political violence, right? We talk about political violence. We talk about identity too. And this still goes on in the world today, where in Alexandria you did have a group of Jewish slaves. You had poor Egyptians who were not traders, they were not mercantilist merchants or anything like this, who were just poor ass people living in Egypt. And no, there is no reason for them to be represented in the democracy. That still exists today too. It still exists today too, right? There's activism. There's also voices that are unrepresented. It's hump day today. Dump the Bible. Heck yeah, nanology. Yeah. The earth is cool. I don't understand why people will hate somebody just because their political views differ. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, hopefully, but yeah. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah. So I mean, why identity evolves, why identity, even Francis Fukuyama adopted a view of identity, and still talks about it a lot today. Yeah. A good explanation would be that incredibly wealthy city-states and empires in the Middle Ages and through post-Enlightenment, and into the Commonwealth era in Europe, used identity to fight. Right? They used identity as a justification for law, for sort of just the norms of life, and then therefore it's a justification for warring states to fight. So a hyper modern definition actually starts to me in the year like 1500 for some reason. I don't know, just can, I guess. But yeah, a hyper modern definition of identity and conflict would say, well, as soon as you have rule of law, as well as diplomacy, so you've got this very deep system. You have a system of borders, two warring states, and then this also corresponds to what daily life is like. Yeah, identity and values can become a hotbed to want to raise a war tax, to want to raise taxes so you can go to war. It can become a hotbed to start have a bias or misjudge your actual prospects at winning or becoming better as a result of that conflict. So to me, it's not just that you're going to produce violence, but when you say that the probability that violence actually is the optimal outcome from game theory, but then you also have to manage the probability that violence is produced, even if it's suboptimal. And so there's two very big buckets. There's two buckets where violence is just possible. You could just say it's possible, and then violence isn't really possible, but you may select it anyways. This is a massive or a huge leap or a gap in sort of peace theories. Hey, thanks, Mr. Jonesy. War is politics through other means. I'm going to do a quick, so welcome to DucksY. I'm going to jump right back into comments in just a second. I will mention we have channel memberships available. You can buy one for yourself or a friend. 2 membership levels. I'm doing some member shorts and stuff, but you get emojis. It's a great way to support the channel. So you can either become Ayo, you're part of the duck pond, or Azo, and you get your duck migration badge. So check those out. You can gift memberships. You can also buy one for yourself. So I'm just mentioning that. Support me, support your other favorite streamers, support the DucksY channel, and thank you. Are you capable of sharing info on the energy stock trading Trump has recently collected billions? I don't know about that, Mike. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know why we would actually spend any time focusing any which way on that whatsoever. If it's not the case that the actual values that people hold around energy are being represented, what does it matter if who or what or when or how much someone's profiting? Take your $1 billion, right? I say, and go fuck yourself. I say take your $1 billion and fuck you. That's what I say. My values, I have not seen my values represented regarding the energy trade, regarding energy security as a national priority. I have not seen my values represented regarding environmentalism, as well as an egalitarian schema to even understand what energy is actually for in a society. So if you made $1 million off of oil, and if you'll ever see this, enjoy your $1 billion. Fuck you. By the end of it, Trump, you're going to be sucking a dick. Guess what, bitch? War is politics through other means. Why haven't MAGA been proudly wearing MAGA hats? They were rocking a daily, yeah. I'll show you guys my, fare thee well, my lover, fare thee well. Here's my MAGA hat emoji. blah, 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 blah. There's your typical average Trump supporter. You guys know what I mean. That's just one of them emojis you get in chat, guys. They're not that fancy. You also got your communist potato, you got your Mick Belief, and you got your Jeff Epstein. And you can be a good Gershon man. So shout out anybody wants to buy emojis. You got a commie potato, a Mick Belief, a Trump Epstein, and a good Gershon man. And you got your MAGA hat. But yeah, the symbology, I think the symbology is meant to cover up that there's actually, who knows? That, if it's the case that people in your own party, even, it crowds out that space maybe a little bit as a function. If there's people in your own party who have different ideas about the DOJ or about national security, there's people in your own party who, like John McCain, didn't want to just say, well, we have an open border. John McCain was always more nuanced than that. Even when he came out fiery, he would usually either back off it, back it up, these types of deals. And so when you have rhetoric, when you have symbology, religious symbology, it crowds out other voices. This is like Charlie Kirk telling you to go snuggle to your Bible. Charlie Kirk insisted that you snuggle up to Christian symbols. And so what politics would you produce in any world with this? Well, you would just have less educated, less prone to update someone's own beliefs. These were all really negative things. Obama has deported more people than Trump. Yeah, cool. Thank you for the fact, Michael. Yeah, there's a fact right there. So interesting. I don't know where that would go in your scrapbook or the whatnot, but there you go. War is politics through other means. No, it's not. I don't know why that would be the case. How is war politics, right? If politics results in policy, war doesn't result in policy. War results in policy that enables policy to resume. Right? So I don't know why you would say, because if you're saying I have a warrior identity, what world is that, right? I don't know what world that is that you're living in personally. It's not natural, right? It's definitely not natural. You don't have warring states in nature. By definition, it's absurd. And so to say that war is politics by other means, it's certainly not foundational. It's certainly not fundamental. And again, it's absurd. It never can be. Oh, that's very rude, right? Yeah, that's very rude. Very rude indeed. Yeah. How to satisfy with our life. Hey, what's up, PS Live? Good to see you. Happy Wednesday night. Being kind to people is a great start. Being kind to people, it's very stupid. I hate identity politics, but picturing identity politics, just like the actual policy, the things that actually are causal and drive change in the world, picturing the identity politics as not themselves connecting to other things is very strange, And so when we conduct ourselves like flexible, intelligent animals like squids use their environment. Squids can fit and find ways through and to do things. They can use tools and stuff like this, like squid, octopi, very smart animals. And so when we use our environment, when we act like human squids, and then we picture that no one picks up on that, no one sees it, or no one judges us for the things that we do as people, even though people are designed to not just be squids, but to make judgments, use intuition about these things. So when we're asked to use our intuition about things, it's like, okay, well, what part of your natural values have you used recently? What part of your social or political values have you used recently? It makes zero sense. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense when people cannot build a fully formed political judgment about anything. It's octopuses, by the way. Oh, shout out to you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that happening tube. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. It's the Socrates guy again. Cool. Yeah, get the fuck off the channel. How many 5-year-olds do you think you could, what? capitalism is bad for the world. Yeah, that's a very bold statement, right? Because the world isn't phenomenal. So, right, saying the world as a statement, it's not like there isn't some phenomenal realm known as the world. So you would have to define what you mean, and then, yeah, by what measure are you saying it's bad? Does this apply to everything in capitalism? How does this relate to capitalism, right? If capitalism is either a set of qualities or a set of facts you can know about a capitalism, what's bad, and then, yeah. And so when you say, well, it's just capitalism, right? It's just capitalism. Cool. That's a great opinion that you can hold. And so, keep on trucking. Keep trucking along, buddy. Very frustrating, isn't it? To lighten the mood, would you rather go to outer space? Neither. Yeah, neither. I'm pretty happy on land. As it turns out, I'd get sad. Do you have a thesis? Yeah, not tonight, or whatever. I don't. Yeah, there's a poll up that says, is Trump good for the world? But if you have a topic you want to introduce, you seem like a smart guy. It's actually not an opinion. It's a very strange way to introduce yourself, even on the internet. Hey, you seem like a smart guy. Do you think politics are influenced by our experience? And what is the point as their actual discourses? Feels like everything is just so polarized these days. Okay, cool. Sick. Is there a point to actual discourse? Yeah. I mean, I think the Gnostic aspect of discourse is that we can reflect differently on our own experience. We experience things, some of it may be held in very different regions of our brain that discourse helps bring out, right? So there is like a neurological component to it or something. And then influenced by our experiences, yeah, we can attribute them to experiences. We can attribute beliefs to experience. And yeah, in politics, I do think an end state is, a mature, a grown adult, right? Someone my age, 36, someone older than me. I would say your beliefs you can support via intuition, judgment, and you're discerning about it, right? Someone who's actually interested in politics would be discerning, meaning that there are things you can do and there's things you can't do. If I believe in low taxes, I'm still discerning. Let's just say that, for example. I'm a progressive Democrat, so I do believe that a 35, 36% tax rate is a low tax rate. It's very crazy to me to think otherwise. If that is the highest tax bracket that exists, it's crazy to think otherwise. And I'm a progressive Democrat, so I also believe in a limited government, and I believe in the welfare state. I believe in social safety nets, but those are discerning. I wouldn't support every belief or idea about those things, and I may know if I'm just going along because it's party politics. I would also know that when I see something I like on the other side, here's why. This is why. This is what discerning means. It means that we can vote our interests, and it is both about intuition and judgment. It is perhaps about these rationalist or objective views we hold in the world. It's also about just kind of what seems right based on what we believe the world to be like. Hey, Janine. Cool. That's funny. Shout out to the Gooners. Discerning, huh? Is that just an objective? No, I wouldn't say that. I would say discerning is capable of picking up and putting down information, not because it suits us, but because it is about what we have already said our interest is and what that external state of the world is, and because that external state of the world, we're able to discuss it. Right? We're able to discuss it. So I can say something like, even let's say I am an ideological extremist. I'm an environmentalist, and I say, here's my actual belief is that oil and energy is going to kill us all. Hey, what's up, KKK leader of men? Good to see you. Cool. But yeah, so I was back on, hey, still me, good to see you. Yeah, I wouldn't call myself open-minded or educated, but that might be true. Discerning. So discerning, if I was an environmental extremist, let's say I was an environmental activist and I said oil and energy is going to kill us all. Realistically, I believe that or something. Even if I'm discerning, I could still say, well, look, my political objectives still differ a lot, right? Maybe I am as crazy of a person that I would go illegally board a ship or something to try to blockade or slow down a oil shipment, right? I would go park a flotilla, in the left-hand lane of like in the Nordics or something like this, because I'm a crazy person. But I'm also discerning, right? So I might know and say that, well, look, the impact of that is going to be just as high as if I take out a TV ad, or if I have a social media account with 1,000 followers only, right? The impact is going to be just as high because I can continue that type of messaging and not go to jail. And so the case where discerning comes into play is I can also take into facts like, well, one of these is illegal, and even though it doesn't comport with my beliefs, I know that my beliefs have to be represented in a legal way. So I still believe, and maybe no, like, harm-free, right? I believe in nonviolence, I believe in pacifism, and I also believe that oil and energy and gas is going to kill us all, right? This is going to kill us all. So I have an extreme political belief. My beliefs make me out to be a radical, but because I'm discerning, I can still integrate my brain. I have an integrated brain because I'm 36 years old. I'm a writer. I have a college degree. I read academic papers. I read philosophy. Very educated, very smart, but I can take different types of information. I'm discerning. I can use intuition. I can create judgments that this is the right lens or not the right lens. And this is for some reason, right? This can extend to the fact that a very smart, educated academic wrote it. I can understand their argument and I'm able to still reject it, right? That's why DuxY has 1,600 subscribers, most likely. I don't have any particular set of skills. I'm not a great broadcaster, not a great streamer. I'm not that interesting. I look old. I look like a nurse you would see at the local ICU or something like that. But the reality is that I'm also smart enough to have opinions about things. I have opinions without being judgmental. So to me, that's part of what discerning is when we're looking to actually apply these skills, take in different types of information, find the edge cases, and think in those sorts of ways. It allows us to have our opinions and still not be obnoxious. Right? It is not obnoxious to be an environmental activist, for example, that thinks oil and energy is going to kill us all, to think that the god Xenu is going to come down on us because we slaughter a billion cows a year or something like this, right? There's the numbers. So we are in the middle of an animal genocide, a great extinction event, and oil and gas and energy is going to kill us all. These all may be true things too. But a discerning person can go start a YouTube channel and not be obnoxious because they know that those statements are not exhausted either, right? Those statements do not exhaust the world of politics. They do not exhaust possibility, and they themselves do not exhaust like a prescription of the moral well-being or something of the world. They're pretty definitive, but nothing is exhausted in some sense. So, yeah, I am 36. What's up? Read the book, The Birth of Energy by Clara New-Daggert. Really great book on energy and supports your thoughts. Cool. She wrote a whole book on it, really. What's the book about? What did she write? How much of it is actually information? Let's see. You said Clara New-Daggert, and you said it is called The Birth of Energy. Cool. Fossil fuels and thermodynamics. Oh, cool. And the politics of work. Oh, cool. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Yeah, I usually use the word. I'd love to check out this thesis and learn a little bit more about Kara Daggert, or Dr. Kara Daggert, whoever she is. But oh, wow. Yeah. But yeah, I usually use the term energy density just because it's really easy to understand. But yeah, I mean, the fact that coal has a relatively high energy density, all things considered, and the fact that oil has a high energy density, all things considered, wow, what a game changer, right? These are like superhero molecules. The reality of energy and and fossil fuel energies is that it's horrifying how strong it is. If I handed you a hamburger and told you that that hamburger is going to power a train, it's going to power a multi-ton train across the continent, you would look at me like I'm a schizophrenic. You would look at me like I am having a psychotic break, right? You would look at me like I am actually a person with a mental illness diagnosed in a society for saying that a hamburger is going to power a train that weighs tens or hundreds of tons across the continent. But I can actually do that with coal. With coal or oil, I can show you this coal or oil, and I can say, hey, this is going to power a 10 ton or 100-ton train across the continent. That's because of energy density, right? That is just because of how much energy is stored, from like a thermodynamic or complexity sort of standpoint. And to say that, well, compared to other fuel sources like nuclear energy, or just looking at like what a photon is, it is a suboptimal. It's not an effective fuel source, but it is orders of magnitude above and beyond other things. I'm 36 and he looks like he could be my dad. America will never be better until we stop voting for politicians that are owned by Israel. It won't kill us. It will end up going away. Can you engage with chat? It's an academic book. Cool. Thank you for giving me the academic book. It would be good to see you tomorrow. It won't kill us. It just ends up going away, and that will kill most of us. Cool. Yeah, I mean, who knows? If it's balancing on the top of a pyramid, right? If energy and iron ore is at the bottom of the pyramid, and it's because it's the thing you burn and the thing that makes the burning worth it to start with. So iron ore and coal and energy. And then you wonder, well, does something eventually replace it all? But still, at the top of it, you still have air forces and navies. So yeah, so you're talking again about economic thinking or game theory, and there's no evidence to what you say, Bard Clay. America will never be better until we stop voting for politicians that are owned by Israel. I have no idea what that means. Do I go to the gym? Not as often as I should, Gabs. How do you get your teeth so white? My teeth are not that white. My teeth suck. Why reject? I don't know what that has to do with anything either. Why reject the Christian metaphysics, rational lawgiver, intelligible cosmos, mind matched to nature? Why reject why reject Christian metaphysics, rational lawgiver, intelligible cosmos, mind matched to nature, that historically grounded the scientific method while trusting the method? Yeah, because it's incoherent, right? There's nothing, this is claimed to be a perennial view where you can have a lawgiver or supernatural being outside of nature. And the reason we keep seeing this theme is because it must be true. But this is also not how we form beliefs that can be updated. And it's not the only type of belief one can hold, right? To say that this is both irrational and rational, right? It's both based in faith and experience and Gnostic, as well as agnostic, right? These are things that you should be able, I would assume you would tell me, AI Flyer, that you can go study it, right? It sounds clean, but it's just simple, right? It is sophomoric, and it's not actually how the world works. So mind matched to nature, in what sense is that true, right? In what sense does someone who has pronoia, which is the opposite of like dysphoria or paranoia, but somebody who thinks the world is helping them, how is that a mind match to nature, right? That's not a mystical experience. It is a mental illness, right? It is genetic. And so mind match to nature, you're talking about a genetic and epigenetic switch that exists in people. So you're talking about something that is close to the atomic scale that impacts what you refer to as a mind, right? Pronoia seems like it would dominate the mind. And so in your view, I can attribute a cause to one thing that you've said that has nothing to do with anything else that you've said. And so to me, this evidences that your approach is not about perennial topics. It's also not about reason, because your beliefs are less foundational. There's nothing that alludes to an essential quality, nothing that alludes to even an inductive or a deductive or inferential world. And so I think you're just making shit up, Airflyer. That's what I really think. And so you say don't trust the scientific method itself, but I just produced a more knowable fact in a way that you can't respond to. Ancient skeptics produced no cumulative science. The medieval Christian synthesis did. Post 1970s, stagnation tracks the loss. What? I have no idea what you're talking about. You sound like you should go on Alex Jones's show. Beware the day Allah will say, "Oh Jesus, son of Mary." Cool. Shout out. Hey, Red Bear, what's up? I think more personal, not really something that's factual to everyone. Hey, what's up, Jay? Yeah, so Jose, it sounds like you believe in subjectivity, which is cool. Yeah, subjectivity is a really interesting topic, and why not, right? You know, there's great questions. What's the nature of a belief? If we agree on something like 1 + 1 = 2, and we agree on that, what's the actual nature of the agreement too, right? You know, can we agree in the same fact? Like if we agree in that 1 + 1 = 2 because we add up, you know, we added up 100 different ways. We go ask people. We put it in Wolfram Alpha or other like sort of like high level math software, and we find out 1 + 1 indeed = 2, and there's reasons to believe it. So even after all this, what's the nature of that belief? Drop PSR. What's IBE and science collapses? No, it doesn't, right? You can go read on my blog. So you can go read on my blog. Who is it? Roywood Sellers talks about causal closure, which is not sufficient PSR. And so the reason you say this is because you want people to believe that AI Flyer. So you can go read about even ontological naturalism, which is a worse version. It's from the 30s than methodological naturalism. Methodological naturalism supports all major branches of contemporary physics. But in this view, you don't need PSR because you have causal closure, or you're not talking about an ontology. And then you're also, right, if you know that there is a nature, such a thing as natural objects or nature, you don't have a way to describe all of nature. So what you're just trying to do is be mystical. You're trying to be mystical and saying that PSR or your version of a God, right? Actually respond to this instead of just posting bullshit that's incoherent, or I'll just ban you from the channel. But yeah, so you're just trying to say, I'm mystical because I can talk about all of nature. That makes no sense. It sounds like you have stuff that you're embarrassed to put on Medium that you can't actually write coherently about, and you're doing internet philosophy. If that's wrong, let me know, but it doesn't sound like you know what you're talking about. Keep them and you owe an account of reality. Yeah, I'm going to kick you off the channel. Causal closure only says physical effects have physical causes. It says nothing about... It doesn't only say that, right? That's what it says. That's what it says, right? So it says that it says physical effects have physical causes, so no vertical cause, right? It says nothing about why the physical totality exists, right? Yeah, because it's talking about a cause. So why would it say something about why the totality exists? What would give you a reason to ask that question in the first place? Or what would give you a reason then to like be even more schizophrenic and more and actually, like, you're telling people to believe all of nature. You're telling little kids this. You're telling little kids that I have to ask about the physical I have to ask about a physical totality, or I have to ask about a cause of the physical totality, when there's this whole fucking point is you don't do that. Methodological closure still presupposes intelligibility, which, I mean, is this just an internal critique? This is based on fucking nothing. PSR demands explanation for that whole. No, what fucking whole? In what world is there a whole? Based on what? Based on what phenomenality? Right? So you're using your worldview and this like mystical world that doesn't exist to go into it. You don't understand. So I don't get how you don't understand the massive mistake that you're making, and it seems like you don't care. Drop ontological PSR and you have no reason. the method tracks truth. So in methodological naturalism, yeah, I mean, methodological naturalism, so the only thing that gets updated is you're talking about supervening groups, right? And so what does intelligibility have anything to do with having a supervening group, right? I can say there's 3 atoms in a molecule, for example, right? So let's just say I impregnate a girl. I would know that there are 2 sets of genes that are forming into a zygote after I come inside of her, right? So that's just one example. So let's just say I came inside of like an 8 or a 9 chick. So in that case, intelligibility doesn't apply because I know that I just put my genes inside of her and she accepted them, right? So that's the huge difference, right? So from my view, what you're trying to do with methodological naturalism is you're trying to reject what supervenience actually means. You're trying to reject that supervenience came from rejecting PSR or something like it in favor of causal closure, and it came from rejecting all of nature descriptions. It came from adopting a different world, not a different worldview, that you just have mysticism, you have supernaturalism, you have vertical causes, right? And so that's the whole point, is I don't think you know what you're talking about. Coming inside of a girl, for example, for me is one example of where I don't need to have intelligibility. I need to have causal closure in that case. But if I come inside of a girl again, an explanation, right? Yeah, so I have an explanation. If I come inside of a girl and she has my DNA inside of her, right? The reason was that I came inside of her and I came with my DNA. So there's an explanation there, but there's intelligibility just isn't really something that applies. Intelligibility would apply to the fact that I know that when I come inside of a girl, right, it is my DNA, right? It's some process. And I would know that meiosis is going to happen, all kinds of stuff, right? So I have an explanation. I have an intelligibility. It's not my problem that let's just say it was fun. Let's just say it felt good. Let's just say any of these things, right? Intelligibility, I don't need to have intelligibility about the fact that coming inside of a girl is a lot of fun, or that getting dome is fun. I don't need to have intelligibility that about those things, right? Intelligibility is about the meiosis, right? Meiosis, we know there's a history of mitosis coming first. That's intelligible. So basically you're saying Zeno's paradox, none of the actual nuanced thinking. I didn't say anything about conception. I mean, maybe there might be meiosis, but that's your term, right? So you're talking about intelligibility of conception, which is your term, right? So that is your subjective view of what's happening. See, this is the problem, is you're saying knowing a sperm fertilizes an egg, all this other stuff. And no, it doesn't. Yeah, no, it doesn't. So you're going back to Spinoza's universe. You're not responding to methodological naturalism. You're not responding to ontological naturalism. You're not responding to supervenience. You're not responding to a limited description of nature. You're not responding to groupings. You're not responding to causal closure. You're not responding to the lack of vertical causality. You're not responding to the reason that intelligibility doesn't really apply in the way you think it does. And you're not responding to the fact that PSR does not respond to the way you think it does. And you're also not responding to, finally, you're not responding to, just where these ideas came from. You're not responding to the types of the things why maybe we have this type of theory of knowledge in the first place. You're also not responding to the fact that I also included getting dome, right? You can get head from a chick, or I can bust a nut in a chick. And so then in that case, we're not talking about conception. You know, if I get dome and I bust in a girl's throat, right? I get I get fossilized by the tonsils or something, the tossal fossil. I get the polar molar, I get the cheek sneak peek, I get the Adam's apple. What's it called? What's that one? whatever, the mouth cubby. But these are all cases where, in my worldview, I don't need to know what conception is. And yeah, so you're proving my point by filling in the blanks, actually. The fact that you can go back in a xenoparadox sense or go forward or beyond it, that's your own problem, right? It doesn't respond to any of your core claims. Yeah, we're talking about epistemology. Roy Wood Sellers wrote a paper a while back called ontological naturalism. And then in the 1950s, someone named D.K. Lewis added this methodological naturalism via supervenience, which allows us to think that atoms are somehow cohering with physical theories, or that if I have, like, maybe most importantly, if I pick up my microphone and I say my microphone is heavy, and maybe this is it seems my microphone is heavy relative to this pair of glasses, right? This is something that a philosopher should be able to manage within naturalism. So supervenience said, well, you can explain it because this thing's made out of frickin' metal, right? This is made out of a plastic derivative. So I could actually go to the factory where this is made. I could talk to the material scientists, the chemists, and then I could go talk to a physicist or a chemist. I could talk to the actual people that know about what this is made out of. And I could also do the same thing with my microphone. And it's still a microphone, right? It's still a microphone. I could actually go to Neil deGrasse Tyson or Sabine Hassenfelder, and they could tell me, well, hey, here's why those atoms generally add up to what it weighs. And guess what? The addition and subtraction basically works. So this is a theory of knowledge. What the person was trying to argue was that if I nut in a chick's throat, or something similar, I come inside of a girl for any reason, that somehow my theory can't handle this example. And in fact, his view says that somehow God is involved in this. To wit, I would say, well, possibly, but what I actually have knowledge of is that God is not involved in this, and the things that I have knowledge about are not about God. So if my belief, my seeming is that coming in a girl's throat, whatever. Methodological naturalism is a working rule. I'm going to ban you off I don't know who you are, and you're not responding to anything. You're distracting. It's not a good conversation. You're uneducated. You're just making up words because they're more comfortable for you, and so you don't need to be on this channel. See ya. Bye. Cool. Hey, Dark Seraphim. No, he wanted to do philosophy, and he wanted to do it like a 5-year-old. So if you want to talk to a 5-year-old, yeah. If you don't want to talk about, yeah, whatever, who cares? Somebody says Adam's apple is a dude. Why do you care? Any questions? What's up? Any questions? Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get out of pocket there. Apparently things did get out of pocket. Yeah. It's just basic biology. What does God have to do with conception? Yeah. I mean, conception is a word that you use because because men and women are both so magical, right? Two people that make a baby together are just so magical that we also have a word conception. So, I mean, if you are, and this is stupid because I would care, and this is me living in a society, I would care enormously about what it's like to go through child rearing, to be a great set of parents, what it means to be a father when you hear that all the time, and then what the roles of the parents are in the household. These types of things would be enormously important to me. But the fact that two special people can just go on with conception or something, get the fuck out of here, right? Cool, sick, but you're going to use conception as an excuse to smuggle God in. What the fuck is that? I just told you I can come in a chick's throat. I can use Roy Wood Sellers. I can come in a chick's throat. I can use fucking DK Lewis, and I don't need any of the other bullshit. It's stupid, guys. Come on, dude. It's nonsense. What's up, MK Kenzer? Shout out to you. Fuck. All right, I'll just hide you on the channel. So I'll just ban you from the channel, Tyler Hillman. Bye. Am I Q father? I don't know what Q father is. Are you talking about Bible sources or something? Are you asking about my family or something? Are we talking? Oh, Dan the Man asked if we're talking about God and religion in general. Yeah, I don't know. This guy sounded like he was smuggling a specific. Someone came into debate or chat, and they sounded like they were smuggling their own understanding or reflection on what religion and what scholastic philosophy is. They were talking about scholastic philosophy, and they were doing so in a way that has nothing to do with scholastic philosophy. It wasn't even a Philbro, right? So they were poorly read. I thought they didn't have a good way to respond to what's actually in these papers. And they had no experience actually applying these the thought problems or patterns in their own life. I think the overall problem is how people abuse religion for the wrong reasons. Yeah. I mean, so a good starting point, let's say I am a religious philosopher. Let's say I was a Christian philosopher. I would still grant right away that, yes, religion always involves faith, because religion presupposes or supposes, either one presupposes or supposes an idea of a God who's always there, even though you're not always communing with this God. There is a faith component. God can be off busy doing other things, and you can still believe in that God. And so then to say that, well, I don't have to justify why that type of belief does or doesn't interact, or it's not relevant to the conversation, or it precisely itself is its own philosophical inquiry. This is different than saying, well, I actually have faith-based beliefs on philosophy based on the way I've interpreted it, right? You can read the Starbucks menu. This is what philosophy is actually like. This is one way to understand philosophy. I can read the Starbucks menu and say, I'll take a double cheeseburger. And they'll say, well, we don't serve double cheeseburgers. Our menu's right there. You can get a cold brew. You can get a Frappuccino. This is what Starbucks serves. And I said, no, I'm looking at the menu and the second item down is a double cheeseburger. And they say, no, once again, I know it, I can answer you two ways. One is that's the menu. And so what's on it is what's on the menu. And that's a correct answer. Your opinion, that person's knowledge and opinion is correct. That is the menu. And so if there is a double cheeseburger on it, you can order it. If there isn't, you can't order a double cheeseburger because it's not on the menu. But that person can also answer you by saying, well, your knowledge, right? Your belief, your mind that there's a double cheeseburger on the menu is wrong. And that's also a correct opinion to hold. Because if it's the case, someone is trying to order a double cheeseburger because they thought it was on the menu, then maybe the menu is, in some regards, once you know there's no double cheese or cheeseburger, it's irrespective to their belief. Their belief is just wrong. It does not correspond with the world. And their belief doesn't seem to produce the result that they want it to. So they should update their belief that you cannot walk into a Starbucks, look at the menu, and order a double cheeseburger. And so what I just experienced in that, what was not a philosophical engagement, was this person said, well, look, I did see, I've read Roy Wood Sellers and I've read D.K. Lewis and I've read Spinoza and I've read whatever, Aquinas or some other bullshit. And they said, well, guess what? I saw a cheeseburger on those papers and no cheeseburger was mentioned, right? Intelligibility, I think Roy Wood Sellers maybe brings it up, but it's not like I don't think it's a crucial sticking point. PSR has nothing to do with modern philosophical thought. And so you have to address those. You can't just explain them back into a theory when they're never in it. And so, yeah. Hey, what's going on, Subtly? Faith is another word for the gullible. I mean, that's your opinion, Dookie McDuke. I think not all of our brain processes produce rational thoughts in categories that are easy to recognize. Kant is a very famous philosopher. It's not the only way to think about it, but Kant said we see things in space and time, right? It makes sense for me to say my glasses are in front of me. I can make then a statement like I own these glasses in front of me, or these glasses are in my possession, or I can say it's good that I have these glasses in my possession and now they're on my face, right? But it doesn't make sense to say, well, glasses exist in, who knows, right? Kant wouldn't say that we can say there's the ideal type of black, and the ideal type of black is assembling with a self who's a computer, right? Because that doesn't exist in space and time. And maybe it sounds cool and stuff like that, but how do you evidence that? For Kant, you don't really. We just naturally use these a posteriori sort of reasoning mechanisms in space and time. But yeah, all of our, one of the reasons why modern philosophy may reject Kant is all of our thinking processes and what we mean by a belief, or what we can mean by knowledge, very, very, and just an interesting sense of exploring the topic. Not even good to know, but it's not all rational, right? Not all of our brain uses propositional logic or symbolic logic. Not all of our brain does math equations. Not all of our brain looks into a von Neumann universe. Not all of our brain looks into a block theory or a theory of time. Not all of our brain breaks this down to fundamental objects. And so, yeah. So talking bullshit got popular since Trump. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Hey, see ya, Jose Ramirez. Anyway, want to hang out for a minute, kind of catch a drift of the conversation, feel free to do so. To change topic, what's your take on the new hantavirus? What? Am I going to get banned off YouTube? Are we doing vaccines? We're all going to be vaccinating our families. We're going to reject 1,000 times result. Oh, the cruise ship. Yeah, I heard about this. I mean, probably not surprising. I'm obviously not an epidemiologist, but this is saying that the virus that started on a cruise ship is one that originates in rodents, right? It may originate or it's commonly found in rodents. So at least incubates, it would probably be accurate to say it can originate in rodents. So it's not surprising. Cruise ships are huge. If you guys have ever been on a cruise, I've been on a couple cruises. I feel a little guilty as a vegan going on cruises, but cruises are a lot of fun. And when you're getting on board, you see they have a small ramp for guests to go up, and then they have several ramps open for like suppliers. So because cruise ships have products and foodstuffs from all over the world coming to be loaded on the cruise ship, it could be the case that, yes, someone brought this disease on board. It could also be the case very easily that it was brought on ultimately because of an unclean or a flawed food shipment or something like that. So whatever. Very scary, of course. You never want to see. Yeah, I personally never want to see people getting sick or ill, and especially when there's broader epidemiological consequences. But that's partially why belief in science and the whatnot is so important. Fox basically wanted people to see themselves as older and more mature than they actually are. But in reality, what's the actual reality is if let's just say you and I, we decide to relax for a second and this is very good athletic stuff too. We meditate on what we're thinking about for just a second regarding Fox News or Trump, and we let our body settle into the position that it wants to naturally take. Right? So like more of an animal meditation than a Buddhist meditation. It's not Buddhist, it's not animalistic, it is animalistic. But yeah, our body should pull back in stuff like this. And so my argument, and a lot of people's argument, would be that, MAGA Republicans don't understand how their brains or bodies work. They have very little justification, if any, for their beliefs, and they feel very strongly about them. They judge things and intuit things that good, bad for me, that have nothing to do with the actual world they produce. And yet it's wild because they do care, right? People who vote in politics do care enormously about what the future of the world is like. And yet, there you go with Donald Trump, right? There you go with Donald Trump, who's producing arguably the greatest risk of geopolitical conflict and environmental disaster into the future. And the fact that you don't see that this is like Third Reich style shit system, right? Hitler built a shit system. Donald Trump hates the United States. He hates the federal government. So he's also built a shit system that can only produce war, right? So it's bad nationalism, and it's really bad. Political science, political science, philosophy, and the whatnot, I'm so old when I want to get on a cruise. It was called an ARC. Cool. Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, Gordon Ramsay. This is how they do it now. Gordon Ramsay's got deals on these cruise ships, so you can go get Gordon Ramsay fish tacos. And then the other thing they do, the one cool thing cruise ships do is they've got themes for lunch too, right? So every night you can either go to the diner, or you can just order takeout. It's like a crazy, absurd sort of luxury thing. But on cruise ships, they also have like a fish and chips night, or there'll be a bangers and mash, or there'll be like an omelet bar or brunch bar. And so every day is also like a Vegas buffet on cruise ships. They didn't have that on Noah's Ark. Honestly, how do you feel about Iran having nuclear weapons? Um, what do you mean? What's the context for that question? I'm just gonna judge this immediately that you can get the fuck off the channel. How about that? Honestly, oh, you are? Hey, Reardon, let me ask you, honestly, how do you feel about Iran having nuclear weapons? Reardon, honestly, how do you feel about, yeah, definitely. Dude, whoa. That's a crazy question, bro. That's actually really deep, dude. Iran. Iran. I can't do it like you. I'm not going to be able to do it like you. Yeah, you gotta slip Ed Said. You gotta slip Ed Said and Al Jazeera in there, right? It has to be Iran. That's the most accurate way to do it. No different than North Korea. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, why though? Yeah. I mean, North Korea and South Korea, by the same token, have proven you can either formally be at war or have zero diplomatic ties, be militarizing next to each other. And this doesn't require a regional system to collapse into war. So, this wouldn't vote well for nuclear weapons in any sense. China certainly probably shouldn't see a nuclearized offensive North Korea as beneficial for them. They're obviously a more powerful state, but yeah. Do I really believe that Iran wouldn't be given by Russia or Pakistani? We are the only country that use nukes. So what, are you talking about what I think you're not? I think I would, maybe I'm referring to a more immature sophomoric view of mutually assured destruction, but I don't know if that's my view or if that's like, let's say that's my view or that's your view. I don't know. I don't see a reason. It would be difficult for me to find a reasoning that Russia would support more nuclearized states. It would be very difficult to, it would seem to be on the very extremes of a geopolitical and nation state level move as a response to missile defense and arms trading, arms dealing, economic aggressions that pound into foundational politics. That it would, to me, that would be the point where I could reasonably see why a conversation is introduced, but introduced isn't the same thing as doing it, right? Yeah. But with the proliferation, it is antiquated. Yeah. Definitely, right? Mutually assured destruction is just about two nation states warring or something like this, right? You can't have two nuclear states going to war. And it doesn't even, it doesn't delineate between what non-proliferation as well as disarmament actually meant in the 1990s. So when those games pull back and stuff too, it seems like there's also counter reasoning around why no new nuclear states is a good thing, and that generally you would suppose states go it alone. Even not imagining that a liberal world order would devolve into regional security politics. I don't know. Hey, what's going on, Tantrum? I went to Egypt too. Oh, cool. Israel, almost everyone has joy of some sort. Yeah, I don't know. I've worked with Egypt has a lot of like computer developers, and like education success is like somewhat valuable. They're going through a period of economic stagnation right now, but stagflation. But yeah, Egypt is also in the middle of some very serious geopolitical spats that can only be solved via like neo-Hobbesianism, most likely. The hegemonic power of the United States is declining rapidly. Yeah, as Trump's tariffs have sped up the demise of a post-World War II power structure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's true, Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's also suggesting that a traditional landborne force is less right. That's playing into both. Yeah, offensive realism I think undermines that. I don't believe in offensive realism, but um, yeah, the fact that both artificial intelligence, um, as well as as well as what seems to be the deregulation of the energy industry seems to be creating levers that is preserving hegemony versus bringing it down. But it's, if anything, it's maybe extending, it's making closer these like 20-year due dates or something like this that we would have, right? That's the logic of the Trump presidency, at least, right? That's the neoconservative position. It's still a curious wonder how this again exists in a vacuum, but yeah. A realpolitik is now congruent with Project 2020. Yeah, maybe, right? What do you think about the thorium energy? Yeah, I don't know. Canada is now the European energy leader. The regionalism is now predominantly in the economic power, not Pax Americana. That's awesome. Yeah. Thorium. Yeah, nuclear power could be great. Nuclear power could be really great. One of the reasons thorium is talked about as potentially safer, just as easy to produce in practical terms. And it doesn't create these storage and national security threats when you just by using it, right? Spent uranium, still very dangerous material, still a very dangerous material, either spent uranium or, whatever waste comes from it. Yeah, and artfully, yeah, maybe you've got fancy plastic barrels or whatever it goes into, but it still sounds very stupid. It's been hundreds of years that we've put shit in barrels and then it ends up in the groundwater. And so yeah. I mean, yeah, I have a light on in my room. But the fact that, like, I'm in Arizona, to picture urban areas in the United States and others using massive amounts of electricity for things that aren't like they're not just energy or Wi-Fi. They using massive amounts of energy to cool homes and unnecessarily wasting water, like shifting groundwater resources. Like that stuff's all very important. And so yeah. I mean, it's if without flying off the deep end, it's difficult to imagine a future world where those are not made to be foundational political issues. In some sense, it's kind of what you see, how you see it, who actually has the demand interest to go buy products like water, who wants to actually go buy water and buy power, who wants to buy a Subway sandwich. Like these are things that, to me, it's not hegemony is collapsing. To me, it's that capitalism has a due date where people that have a desire to buy sub sandwiches for $13 or buy $45,000 cars or buy a barrel of oil for $117, like that's fucking ridiculous. Like there's the value just isn't there when you could just as easily turn down your lights. You could just as easily reduce your consumption and either increase the savings rate or shift that to something else. So it's complete bullshit, right? But yeah, nuclear is the future, same as vibrational frequency. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Vibrational and frequency. Yeah. The fact that, yeah, when we think of closed systems or something that's how I think of it. Yeah, a closed system but the big problem is like venture accelerators like Andreessen Horowitz, which is Mark Andreessen. He was the founder of it wasn't MSN Search Internet. He was the founder of some web company, but he's a billionaire. Like he's a very rich, influential billionaire. But yeah, he tried to build this like zero waste city. He funded this like zero waste city. And the problem is still that, well, that's a stupid, it's in some sense, it's a good project if you're going to license IP. If you think you're going to define something that's more valuable than like track housing or some stupid goal like that, then go fuck yourself. But if you were actually doing this to define IP and sort of map out the real world value chain, which you would learn a ton, you would learn more than anyone else on earth ever has about urban planning doing this in reality, right? That's what I would take my, if I was to take $100 million in venture funding, that's what I would do, is try to build a zero waste city that is actually about the IP and actually about the value chain. It's actually about why an energy circular city or an economically circular city, all of it can connect and can plug in and can also pay for itself internally and externally, right? Like existing in reality and being deeply, really incredibly ambitious with things like that. Not imagining that these things take resources, but that these things highlight the actual bigger problems and opportunities. I mean, it's crazy. It's very stupid. No emotions. I don't know what that means. Zero waste. How is that even possible? Yeah, it's mechanically impossible, but you can also think like, it's not an excuse, but when you think of the energy transforms from one thing to another, right? A cheeseburger transformed into my college degree. Or a Gatorade transforms into a bike ride or something like that, right? And so when you ask what people, if they're happy, what people actually want to be doing, what's socially productive, what supports a political definition of what a political person is, having more efficient energy, green sources, and also placing demands that seem to be more in line. When the structuralism, when a constructed society places demands on people that are more akin to what human nature and a political animal is like, it's like, yeah, well, in any world, this can be billed or advertised as zero waste because it's pretty damn fucking close, right? It is what it is. It's not bio design, but it is what the human tree, what the human forest would be doing anyways. Yeah, but also, to not undermine the engineering problem. But the problem with engineers is they always forget where stuff came from and where it ends up. And Uncle Sam does not, right? You actually want to know what the CIA and Russia are probably either fighting about, and they shouldn't be fighting about. It's like, these god fucking engineers and these people who have these piecemeal solutions to stuff. And we love them too, right? But what a source of geopolitical problems and competition. And it's just very stupid. Yeah. As much as China has solved problems like this in the past. Yeah. But, a lot of it still does go to command economy. It goes to rural areas. It doesn't go, as far as we can tell, as far as anyone can tell, it doesn't go to contributing to alleviating the information burden in the world or something, whatever an information burden the fuck is. I will donate $50 to break the vape. Yeah, if you send in $50, I'll break the vape or something. Do you just want to see a vape break? Let's see. This one's got 33% battery, and wastefully it has one bar left. If you send in a $50 super chat, I'll go get pliers or something and break the vape. It's a waste, but I'll break it. All right, guys, 2 more likes gets us to 50 likes. Thanks for hanging out. We are talking capitalism, Trump, and the whatnot. If anybody isn't broke and wants to send in a nice red or orange super chat or pink super chat, support the stream, send some gems. That's hugely helpful. It adds up. I'm just getting started on my YouTube month, and it's always very helpful to have a little bit that comes in, but don't worry about it. Small super chats help not just me, but help your favorite streamers all around the internet. Yeah. 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 Yeah, absolutely. Whatever stopping either more comprehensive or specific diplomacy in Gaza and elsewhere should be resolved, right? I've stumbled across several Palestinian live streams and stuff like that. Yeah, it looks horrible. The level of destruction is massive, so it's very sad. Yeah. What's your opinion on the Dragon? And I don't know. Is that like a satellite? Let me see. What is so you said We have OGBT said Dragon investment strategy. Okay, so it's for individuals. Yeah, it's asset management. Yeah, so I don't have an opinion how you invest your money. You can invest in mutual funds, you can invest your conscience, and you should also, if you have broad exposure to the US stock market or any public market, you should understand asset classes and what diversity exists and how you can actually spend time working on your values in that market, right? People like Sam Altman, as much as I'm angry and I hate AI right now, and yeah, it shouldn't feel like screaming to the top of a Trump Tower. It shouldn't seem like screaming just in the US. It is a global issue. But yeah, Sam Altman, invested in an equity class that's disruptive, which is AI. So you can do the same. Are you going to actually go out and take responsibility and own the whole of the problem? Cool, go do that. Who knows? Maybe you want to be a multi-unit rental person or something, but you have a community, you would decide you're going to invest in a community kitchen and gym. So you're saying, look, this is a multifamily property, but we're also trying to save people money. We're trying to help people. If you live here for 4 or 5 years, you can change your life. You can become healthy. You can save money, learn to eat healthy. And so we're not going to overcharge you on rent, and there's your amenities, right? So I do think there's ethical forms of capitalism, and it's really just a matter of figuring out when, where, and why it works. And then you say fuck you to everything else. You say no to everything which isn't that. And it's just amazing. Yeah, this is the part this is the lack of meritocracy. A big effect of Trump's administration and the rise of nationalism is that meritocracy's gone away. So people say yes to doing easy things. People say yes to doing what's convenient. People celebrate doing things that are not actually that difficult. They didn't take design. They didn't take risks. They didn't take necessary risks to big bridge problems. And they didn't take any actual strategy in recruitment, finance, operations, go-to-market, and finance, right? And so if it didn't take any strategy, if it didn't take those strategies themselves didn't have to have jumps, it wasn't actually difficult to do. And that still doesn't mean it was good. It just meant it was difficult. And that's maybe why you got it and no one else did. But yeah, it's incredible. Lack of meritocracy means that, yeah, it's not an accomplishment to me to own. So you own residential rentals, or you own commercial rental properties. You have a lease and you have positive cash flow or thereabouts on those, and you have a reason to believe it's going up in value. Whoop-de-fucking-do. There is an app for that, right? There's software for that. But it is cool. If you said I had to search 15 different geographies, not just to get something that has cash, but I had to search 15 zip codes and then 15 more because I didn't think I was actually making people's lives better or whatever it is, right? Nobody asked you to do that. No one asked you to think or consider things like that. I mean, it's just a very strange way to think. So it's a strange way to think that, something you can do on an application like a cell phone is somehow worth celebrating, that you earned something, you achieved something. No, you didn't. No, you did not. What's it? Benji? Yeah, Benji. Benji's now killed 100,000 people. Is he not way worse than President Trump? Benji's now killed 100,000 people. Who knows? If you want to blame Benjamin Netanyahu for Israel's story, or you also, and you're doing that, but you're also not backing into the fact that that Israel has been a state founded on democratic principles. Israel hasn't been like a world enemy in some sense, or one sense or the other. It's very strange, right? So yeah, I think if people want to get out pitchforks and do MAGA republicanism for Israel or do MAGA republicanism for Palestine, have fun. Yeah, we'll watch a bunch of Israeli people lose their fucking minds, and then we'll watch the next 100,000 Palestinians fucking die. That's what's going to happen. Cool, enjoy. You guys got 100,000 of them out of there, and now you have probably millions of Israelis that are on the fucking edge of insanity. Cool. Everybody feels good. No, you don't. You look like shit. right? You guys all look horrible because you guys chose to fight. You guys chose to fight and you guys didn't solve it. At the end of the day, I can own my responsibility for US exploitation, US competitive geopolitics fueling the conflict. But guess the fuck what? I didn't say I would press the button. I didn't say I was going to press any button. So you guys didn't solve your fucking bullshit. So we get healthcare, then we will fund defensive weapons only. Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sticks instead of firearms, right? You can have defensive sticks. You still don't want to mess with the guy with a stick. That makes a lot of sense to me. He's going to hit you harder and faster, reckon. I'd say 9 times out of 10 even. And so, yeah, it's wild to think that, it's wild to think that when one of the absurdities of offensive realism, and this is just a point of I've been around long enough to see it. I'm 36. I'm not a genius or anything like this. But my very dumb person view is that, well, if you're telling me that offensive realism means that we compete and do better by buying and selling and trading more weapons to the good guys, well, we've seen that not work before in the past, right? How'd that work for Uncle Hitler? Old Unky Hitler. Well, Unky Hitler ended up only trading guns. Wasn't it the case, right? Germany didn't have a ton of friends going into that Second World War. Reckon he had earned that quite well. And so it's very stupid to say that, something like offensive realism will produce something better, right? It's not this perennial truth. It's just, well, you're telling people who thought conflict in the first place was the reason you avoid the state of nature, right? But you're telling me, well, you've got anarchy and then you got this state and then you go out and produce anarchy and then you produce more anarchy on top of it to solve the anarchy in the second place, right? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense to say that violence is the sole description of how a national interest is pursued. Makes zero sense whatsoever. There's no economic thinking in there. The economic thinking is bigger versus smaller. The economic thinking is assuming that other states are starting to believe that they can hit the US. So at its core, offensive realism is maybe a deeply neoconservative, almost dogmatic religious belief in my view, but it's just one way of saying it, I guess. I don't know, a bunch of bullshit. If the United States paid for universal healthcare, American business and entrepreneurs will thrive as now healthcare. Hey guys, I'm going to sign off. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed pretty soon. If you guys want to subscribe, heck yeah. Shout out for Sky Daddy. Shout out for any faith-based religious folks. Thanks for joining. Shout out to poli-sci folks. And yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, Always Sunny is a good show. It's not very sleepable, but I like that show. It's a good show. Take care of your favorite streamers, guys. Thank you for the financial support. This stream was really successful for me, so thank you guys for that. And yeah, I love streaming with you guys. It's like just below a minimum wage job. So honestly, when you guys send $1-2 super chats, keeps me right there where it's still a lot of fun, not a lot of stress. And that's true of other YouTubers too. And you guys are awesome, right? So I'm going to be going out, doing research, blogging, making shorts, thinking about the next video if I do another Kant video or whatever it is. And I appreciate you guys. Hopefully it's stuff you guys find interesting. And yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. Shout out to you guys. Drop a sub if you want to catch the next stream. Consider hitting the bell to get notified. I'm usually live in the morning and then one at night too. So thanks. Good to see you guys. Take care.